A new life in Westeros. Third-person POV. The boy woke with a start, his head throbbing as if a blacksmith were hammering his skull. He blinked, squinting against the dim light filtering through a cracked wooden shutter. The air smelled of stale ale, sweat, and something faintly metallic. He sat up, the rough straw mattress crackling beneath him, and froze. His hands, they weren't his hands. They were larger, calloused, with long fingers that didn't belong to the scrawny, overworked kid he'd been. His heart raced as he touched his face, feeling sharp cheekbones and a jawline that wasn't his own. A lock of black hair fell into his eyes, and when he caught his reflection in a nearby tarnished mirror, yellow eyes stared back. Where the hell? He muttered, his voice deeper than he remembered. He was tall now, at least 5 feet 10, and his body felt strong, wiry. He looked around the room, a small, dingy chamber with a sagging bed, a rickety table, and a single chair. This wasn't his cramped apartment in the city, nor the alley where he'd sometimes slept when money ran dry. This was a tavern. The walls were rohewn wood, the floor strewn with straw, and the faint sound of raucous laughter drifted up from below. He pressed his hands to his temples, trying to piece together how he got here. His last memory was crossing a busy street, the screech of tires, a blinding light, and then, nothing. His headache flared, and fragments of memory flooded back. The grind of his life as an orphan, the endless hustle for a corporate job that never materialized, the exhaustion of scraping by. And then, Truckin. He shouted the name aloud, the absurdity of it echoing in the small room. You've got to be kidding me. He groaned, rubbing his face. Isekai'd. Of course. He'd read enough manga and web novels to know the trope, but he never thought he'd be the one flattened by the infamous truck. His life hadn't been great, orphaned young, bouncing between foster homes, working dead-end jobs, but this was something else entirely. His gaze drifted to the table beside the bed. A small glass vial sat there, its contents swirling with rainbow-colored liquid that shimmered unnaturally. Beneath it was a folded piece of parchment. He picked up the vial, turning it over in his hand. It felt warm, almost alive. He unfolded the note, his eyes narrowing as he read the elegant, looping script. Dear mortal, my deepest apologies for my grandson's mistake. He was not meant to end your life so abruptly. As compensation, I have reincarnated you into the world of Westeros, you know from the TV series, A Game of Thrones. You are now in a new body, one suited to this harsh world. As a gift, drink the vial. It will grant you a power to aid your journey. Choose wisely, and may you find purpose in this new life. A very sorry God. He stared at the note, rereading it twice. Westeros. Essos. Game of Thrones. He'd watched the series enough to know it was a brutal world of backstabbing nobles, dragons, and endless wars. And now he was in it. He glanced at the vial, its rainbow glow casting flecks of color across the room. No other option, huh? He muttered. With a deep breath, he uncorked the vial and downed its contents. It tasted like honey and lightning, buzzing down his throat. He closed his eyes, waiting for something to happen. A warmth spread through his chest, then a sharp jolt, like static electricity. When he opened his eyes, a translucent screen hovered in front of him, glowing with faint blue light. Words scrolled across it. Welcome to the Gacha system. Player name, not assigned. Please name yourself to continue. He blinked, his mind racing. A gacha system. Like in those mobile games he'd wasted pocket change on. Dominic Augustus, he said aloud. The screen flickered. Player name, Dominic Augustus. System initialized. Gacha system rules. Earn 1 gacha point, GP per day. 3 GP required for a single roll. Purchase 100 GP monthly for 1 dragon currency of this world. Roll 10 times consecutively to guarantee at least 1 rare card. Gacha contains character cards, items, and powers from all fictional universes. Dominic's jaw dropped. This wasn't just a second chance, it was a cheat code. A gacha system that could pull from any fictional universe. That was insane. He leaned back, mind spinning with possibilities. What should he do first? Explore. Fight. Figure out where he was. The screen shifted, displaying his status. Name: Dominic Augustus. Race: human. Age: 15. Character assimilation: fully assimilated new body. Powers: none. Equipment: none. Gacha points: GP 100. 100 points. He exclaimed. That was enough for 33 single rolls or 3 10 rolls with guaranteed rares. He grinned, the headache fading as excitement took over. Let's see what this thing can do. He navigated the glowing interface, selecting a 10 roll. The screen flashed, and a slot machine-like animation spun, images of swords, glowing orbs, and shadowy figures blurring past. When it stopped, a list of rewards appeared. Item: Standard steel sword, a well-crafted but unremarkable blade. Item: Leather boots, durable, slightly worn. Item: Waterskin, holds enough water for a day. Item: Iron dagger, small, sharp, good for close encounters. Character card. Toph Beifong, Avatar. The last airbender can be assimilated to gain her earthbending abilities. Item: Rope 10 feet, sturdy hemp rope. Item: Flint and steel, for starting fires. Item: Plain cloak, keeps out the rain. Item: Small pouch, can hold small items. Item: Bread loaf, freshly baked, slightly stale by tomorrow. Dominic stared at the list. Toph Beifong. Earthbending. That was huge. The rest were basic, but a sword, dagger, and survival gear weren't bad for a start. He glanced around the room, wondering where the items had gone. A pile of gear had appeared by the bed, a sword in a simple scabbard, a pair of boots, a folded cloak, and the rest neatly stacked. The Toph card, a shimmering piece of parchment with her image, glowed faintly in his hand. He rummaged through the room, hoping for more clues. Under the bed, he found a small sack containing 30 gold dragons, heavy, gleaming coins stamped with a dragon's head. Not bad, he murmured, tucking the sack into his belt. He slipped on the boots, slung the cloak over his shoulders, and strapped the sword to his waist. The dagger went into his boot, and the rest of the items fit into the pouch. Stepping outside, the humid air hit him like a wave. The tavern was in a bustling market street, lined with stalls selling spices, silks, and roasted meat. Voices haggled in a language he somehow understood, Valyrian, maybe. He caught snippets of conversation. The Dothraki are moving west, the price of slaves is up, Essos, definitely. But where exactly? He wandered back to the tavern's common room, the smell of stew and ale thick in the air. He ordered a meal, bread, cheese, and a bowl of lamb stew, and sat near a grizzled man in a patched cloak. Excuse me, Dominic said, keeping his voice casual. Where exactly am I? The man raised an eyebrow, chewing on a piece of bread. Pentos, lad. Where else? Pentos. Okay, that was a start. And, who's sitting on the Iron Throne these days? The man snorted. Robert Baratheon, the fat old stag. Been king for nigh on 13 years. What year is it? Dominic asked, trying not to sound too ignorant. 296 after Aegon's conquest, the man said, giving him a strange look. You been living under a rock. Dominic forced a laugh. Something like that. He finished his meal, his mind racing. 296 AC meant Robert was still king, Ned Stark was probably still alive, and Daenerys was out there somewhere with her brother Viserys. He was early in the Game of Thrones timeline, plenty of time to carve out a place for himself. Night fell, and after another meal, Dominic returned to his room. He sat on the bed, holding the Toph Beifong card. Assimilating it would give him earthbending, a power that could make him unstoppable in this world. But what would it mean to assimilate? Would he lose himself? The system said he was already fully assimilated into this body, so maybe it was safe. He took a deep breath and pressed the card to his chest, willing it to activate. A surge of energy coursed through him, like roots burrowing into his bones. His senses sharpened, he could feel the stone floor beneath him, the vibrations of footsteps downstairs, the pulse of the earth itself. He stomped his foot, and the floor trembled, a small crack spider webbing across it. Holy shit, he whispered, grinning. Toph's powers are mine. The system screen reappeared, updating his status. Name: Dominic Augustus. Race: human. Age: 15. Character assimilation: Toph Beifong, earthbending, seismic sense 10%. Powers: earthbending, beginner, seismic sense, beginner. Equipment: standard steel sword, iron dagger, leather boots, plain cloak, waterskin, rope 10 feet, flint and steel, small pouch, bread loaf. Gacha points, GP 70. He flexed his hands, feeling the earth's rhythm through his feet. Seismic sense was like a second sight. He could see the shapes of people moving in the tavern below, their footsteps painting a picture in his mind. This was power, real power. But he needed to be smart. Essos was dangerous, and Westeros was worse. He had 70 GP left, enough for more rolls, but he decided to save them. He needed to understand this world better before gambling on more pulls. Lying back on the bed, Dominic stared at the ceiling. He was no longer the orphan scraping by in a world that didn't care. He was Dominic Augustus, Earthbender, Gacha wielder, and maybe, just maybe, a player in the Game of Thrones. Tomorrow, he'd explore Pentos, learn the lay of the land, and figure out his next move. For now, he closed his eyes, the hum of the earth lulling him to sleep. The next morning, Dominic woke to the system's chime. Daily GP earned, +1. Total GP, 91. He smirked, slow but steady. He spent the day wandering Pentos, using his seismic sense to navigate crowded markets and avoid pickpockets. The city was vibrant but chaotic, full of merchants, sellswords, and whispers of war. He overheard talk of Daenerys Targaryen, still a minor player in Karth, and of unrest in Westeros. The gold dragons in his pouch bought him a proper meal, a map of Essos, and a cheap horse, a sturdy brown mare he named Ember. Over the next few days, he practiced earthbending in secret, raising small pillars of stone in abandoned alleys and honing his seismic sense. It was clumsy at first, knocking over crates, cracking walls, but he improved quickly. Toph's instincts were part of him now, guiding his movements. He also rolled the gacha once more, spending 3 GP for a single pull. The result was a healing salve, a small jar that could mend minor wounds. Useful, but not game-changing. By the end of the week, Dominic had a plan. Pentos was a start, but he needed allies, resources, and a goal. Should he head to Westeros and meddle in the Stark-Lannister feud? Or carve out his own empire in Essos? The gacha system gave him endless possibilities, but he'd need to be strategic. For now, he'd stay in Pentos, gather information, and build his strength. Give suggestions on gacha items. The Invisible Heist. 296 AC. Third-person POV. Pentos. The Invisible Heist. Dominic sat in his tavern room, the morning light filtering through the cracked shutter. A week in Pentos had burned through half his initial 30 gold dragons, 15 spent on sturdy clothes, hearty meals, and the tavern's rent. The room, though small, had been his training ground, where he honed Toph Bifong's earthbending and seismic sense. His assimilation with Toph had climbed to 40%, letting him manipulate larger chunks of earth and sense vibrations with greater clarity. He could now see the layout of rooms through walls or detect a guard's heartbeat from 20 paces. His gacha system had 74 points, accumulated from daily gains. After breakfast, bread, cheese, and a mug of weak ale, he decided to roll again, hoping for tools to secure his future in this brutal world. He activated the system, its glowing screen hovering before him, and selected a 10 roll, spending 30 GP. The screen spun, and the results materialized. Item: Spider-Man mask, Marvel mask from Spider-Man 1 Tobey Maguire. Item: Naruto's Konoha headband, a ninja village symbol, no special properties. Item: bread loaf, fresh, crusty. Item: inventory 1000 meters by 1000 meters, a dimensional storage space, accessible only by the user. Item: Geralt's leather jacket, The Witcher, durable, stylish, minor protection. Item: torch, unlit, wooden. Item: small pouch of herbs, medicinal, for minor ailments. Item: rope 20 feet, stronger than his previous rope. Item: iron key, unknown purpose. Item: cloth bandages, for wrapping wounds. The inventory was a godsend, a massive, invisible warehouse he could access with a thought. He slipped on the leather jacket, smirking at its rugged fit, and stored the rest in the inventory. With 44 GP left, he rolled again. Item: Captain America's shield, Marvel, vibranium, indestructible, ideal for defense and throwing. Item: Sokka's boomerang, Avatar, the last airbender, balanced, returns when thrown. Item: flask of ale, decent SOC brew. Item: wool blanket, warm, slightly scratchy. Item: iron shovel, sturdy, for digging. Item: candle X3, basic wax candles. Item: invisibility cloak, Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows, renders the wearer completely invisible. Item: small mirror, hand-sized, slightly cracked. Item: leather gloves, improved grip, minor protection. Item: salted fish, preserved food for a week. The shield's weight felt reassuring in his hands, its star emblem gleaming. The invisibility cloak was the real prize. Dominic draped it over his arm, watching his hand vanish. He stored all his new items in the inventory, keeping only the dagger in his boot and the leather gloves on. His gold was dwindling, only 15 dragons left, and Pentos was expensive. He needed a plan to secure wealth, and the cloak sparked a bold idea. The magisters of Pentos were filthy rich, their mansions brimming with gold dragons, jewels, and artifacts. With the invisibility cloak, he could slip in, take just enough to avoid suspicion, and amass a fortune. Over one night, he'd hit every major magister's mansion, skimming small amounts from their treasury. It was audacious, but the cloak and his seismic sense made it possible. That night, Dominic prepared meticulously. He wore Geralt's jacket, the leather gloves, and the belt, with the dagger tucked into his boot. The invisibility cloak stayed in his inventory, ready to be summoned. His seismic sense would map the mansions, and the shield would cover him if things went wrong. Pentos at night was a maze of shadows and torchlight. Using his seismic sense, Dominic avoided patrols, their heavy footsteps betraying their routes. The Magister's district was a cluster of opulent mansions, each behind high walls and guarded gates. He started with the smallest, working his way up to avoid drawing attention. Under the cloak's invisibility, he bent earthen ramps to scale walls, dissolving them behind him. His seismic sense guided him through lavish halls, past sleeping servants and patrolling guards. In each mansion, he targeted strongboxes, vaults, and hidden caches, using earthbending to quietly break locks or shift stone panels. He took only a fraction from each, 5,000 dragons here, 10,000 there, a handful of jewels, a silver chalice, or a gold-embossed book. The amounts were small enough that no single magister would notice, but they added up. By dawn, he'd hit 30 mansions, his inventory stuffed with 1.5 million gold dragons, plus assorted valuables, ruby rings, sapphire necklaces, gilded daggers, and a strange obsidian orb that pulsed faintly. He avoided anything too conspicuous, like unique heirlooms, to keep suspicion low. Back in his room, Dominic collapsed onto the bed, exhausted but triumphant. He summoned a handful of gold dragons from his inventory, their weight reassuring in his palm. He'd never have to worry about money again. The system updated his status. Name: Dominic Augustus. Race: human. Age: 15. Character assimilation: Toph Bifong, earthbending, seismic sense 40%. Powers: earthbending intermediate, seismic sense intermediate. Equipment: Captain America's shield, invisibility cloak. Spider-Man web shooters, Sokka's boomerang, standard steel sword. Iron dagger, flint knife, Geralt's leather jacket, leather boots. Plain cloak, waterskin, rope 20 feet flint and steel, small pouch, bread loaf, flask of ale, wool blanket, iron shovel, candles, X3, fishing line, small mirror, leather gloves, salted fish, small pouch of spices, wooden bowl, cloth sash, ink and quill, leather belt, apples, X2, whetstone, copper coins, X10, Konoha headband, cloth bandages, small pouch of herbs, torch, inventory, 1000 meters by 1000 meters, ruby rings, X3, sapphire necklaces, X2, gilded daggers, X2, gold embossed book. Currency: 2,500,000 15 gold dragons. Gacha points, GP 14. For now, he had wealth beyond imagination and tools to survive Essos' dangers. Dominic woke the next morning to the system's chime. Daily GP earned, +1. Total GP, 15. Sunlight streamed through the shutter, and he sat up, his mind turning to the future. With his wealth, he could do anything, meddle in Westeros, or build something of his own. The idea hit him like a thunderbolt, a kingdom. His kingdom. A place where he could make the rules, free from the backstabbing of nobles or the chaos of Essos city-states. But where? Westeros was too entrenched, its lords too powerful. Essos offered more opportunity, but the free cities were crowded with magisters and warlords. After pacing the room, he settled on the disputed lands, a lawless stretch between Myr, Lee, and Tirosh, where sellsword companies and petty lords fought endlessly. It was chaotic, but chaos was opportunity. With his powers and wealth, he could carve out a stronghold, a foundation for his own realm. To do that, he needed an army. The Unsullied of Astapor were the answer, elite, disciplined, and loyal to their master. They weren't cheap, but with 1.5 million gold dragons, he could afford thousands. The journey to Astapor would be dangerous, but his earthbending, shield, and cloak made him a oneman army already. He just needed men to hold what he built. He spent the day preparing. At the market, he bought a better horse, a sleek black stallion he named Shadow, for 50 gold dragons. He stocked his inventory with provisions, dried meat, bread, waterskins, and a map of Essos. He kept his gear light, relying on the inventory to carry everything. The obsidian orb and amulet stayed buried deep in storage, their strange energy unsettling. The next morning, Dominic paid his tavern bill, saddled Shadow, and rode south toward Astapor. The road was dusty, lined with olive groves and small villages. His seismic sense kept him alert for bandits, while the invisibility cloak stayed ready in case of trouble. The system. A.N. gives suggestions on gacha items. A kingdom in the making. 296 AC. Dominic's POV. The first day of travel from Pentos was uneventful until evening. I'd set up camp in a small clearing, the fire crackling as shadow grazed nearby. The air was warm, scented with dust and wild herbs. My inventory held 1.5 million gold dragons and a trove of artifacts, but I kept my gear simple. Geralt's leather jacket, leather gloves, and the iron dagger in my boot. The invisibility cloak and Captain America's shield stayed in storage, ready if needed. As I ate a piece of salted fish, the ground trembled, 5 sets of footsteps, moving fast. My seismic sense painted their outlines. Mercenaries, armed with swords and axes, their armor clinking. They burst into the clearing, surrounding me, their faces hard and greedy. Hand over your coin, boy, the leader growled, a scarred man with a patchy beard. No need to make this messy. I stood, keeping my hands visible. I don't have any money. Check if you want. The leader sneered, eyeing my clean tunic and Geralt's jacket. No need to lie. Those clothes are too fine for a pauper. I don't want trouble, I said, my voice calm but firm. They didn't listen. The leader stepped forward, sword drawn, and the others closed in. I sighed. So much for diplomacy. With a stomp, I summoned 5 stone spikes from the earth, each aimed between their legs. The ground obeyed, and in an instant, 4 spikes shot upward, piercing through armor, flesh, and bone, stopping just below their skulls. 4 bodies slumped, lifeless. The 5th man, quicker than the rest, dove aside, landing hard on the dirt. He scrambled to his feet, eyes wide with terror. Fuck this. He yelled, sprinting away. I raised a hand, and the earth responded, forming a semicircular dome of stone around him. He skidded to a halt, trapped. Turning, he dropped his sword and fell to his knees. Please, spare me. I'll do anything. I chuckled, crossing my arms. Anything, huh? Yes. He stammered, sweat beading on his brow. Anything you want, I swear. Swear loyalty to me, I said, my yellow eyes glinting in the firelight. But if I even suspect you'll betray me, your death will be worse than theirs. I gestured to the spiked corpses. He nodded frantically. I swear. My loyalty is yours. What's your name? Aaron Sand, he said, voice shaking. I lowered the dome, letting him stand. All right, Aaron. You're with me now. Help me clean this up. We buried the bodies, well, I used earthbending to sink them into the ground, and broke camp. The next morning, we headed south toward Astapor, Shadow carrying me while Aaron trudged alongside, his fear slowly giving way to cautious respect. The journey to Astapor took 45 days, a grueling trek through Esso's vast landscapes. We passed the golden fields, their wheat swaying under the sun, Bay's Dothraki, its horse gates looming in the distance, the endless grasslands of the Dothraki Sea, Marine's towering pyramids, Yunkai's yellow brick walls, and finally, Astapor's red brick sprawl. The road was harsh, dusty trails, scorching days, and chilly nights. My inventory kept us fed and watered, with bread, apples, and salted fish to spare. We encountered Dothraki hordes 3 times, their hooves shaking the earth like thunder. Each time, I raised a stone dome around us, thick enough to withstand arrows and curious scouts. Aaron watched, awestruck, as the Dothraki passed, their war cries fading. You're no ordinary man, he said once, but I only smirked. The Dothraki were a problem for another day. One day, I'd ensure no Khalasar roamed free, but for now, they could live. Aaron proved useful, sharing tales of Essos, politics and sellsword life. He was a Dornishman, a bastard who'd fled Westeros for adventure, only to end up a mercenary scraping by. His loyalty seemed genuine, born of fear and the promise of a better life. I kept my seismic sense on him, watching for any hint of betrayal. So far, he was clean. We reached Astapor at dusk, the city's red walls glowing under the setting sun. After resting in a cheap inn, paid with a few copper coins from my inventory, we headed to the slave market the next morning. The air stank of sweat and iron, and the market buzzed with traders, overseers, and chained slaves. I approached a man in fine silks, clearly in charge. I want to buy Unsullied, I said, my voice steady. He eyed me, then Aaron, his lip curling. Come back tomorrow morning. I'll inform the good masters and arrange a meeting. The next day, we entered the training field, a dusty arena ringed by red brick walls. The good masters sat on a high platform, their silks fluttering, while thousands of Unsullied stood in silent ranks, spears gleaming. A young woman with dark skin and sharp eyes stood nearby, translating. She looked familiar, too familiar. What's your name? I asked her. Missandei, she replied, her voice clear. I nodded, hiding my surprise. Missandei from the show. And what do you do? I translate for the good masters, she said. I leaned in. Tell them I want 500 men, 500 women, 100 children, and 10,000 unsullied soldiers. Missandei's eyes widened slightly, but she translated flawlessly. The good masters murmured, then one spoke, his voice dripping with arrogance. Missandei translated, the price is 1 million gold dragons. Done, I said without hesitation. And throw in Missandei as a gift. The masters conferred, then nodded. Missandei's expression flickered, fear, hope, I couldn't tell. The deal was set. That night, I transferred 1 million gold dragons from my inventory into 10 wooden chests, each heavy with coin. The next morning, I delivered them to the training field. The good masters inspected the gold, their greed palpable, and finalized the sale. The Unsullied, 10,000 strong, plus 500 men, 500 women, 100 children, and Missandei, were mine. That night, I struck again. Under the invisibility cloak, I slipped into the good master's palaces, my seismic sense guiding me past guards and traps. Their vaults were obscene, piles of gold, gems, and artifacts. I took carefully, siphoning 2 million gold dragons across multiple estates, plus a handful of valuables, a ruby-encrusted scepter, a diamond tiara, and a strange bronze ring that hummed faintly. By dawn, Astapor's elite were none the wiser, their losses too small to notice immediately. With my new army, I headed to Astapor's port. The docks were chaotic, ships creaking under the weight of cargo and slaves. I approached a merchant with a fleet of 50 galleys, each sturdy enough for a long voyage. How much for all of them? I asked. He blinked, then named a price, 500,000 gold dragons. I paid from my inventory, the coins materializing in chests. The ships were mine, crewed by hired sailors and my Unsullied. Missandei, now free, stood by my side, her sharp mind already proving useful as she organized the civilians. Aaron, standing on the deck of the lead ship, turned to me as we prepared to sail. Where are we going, anyway? I looked out at the horizon, the wind tugging at my cloak. To create our own kingdom. He raised an eyebrow but didn't press. The Unsullied loaded supplies, the civilians boarded, and the ships groaned as they filled. My inventory held 2.5 million gold dragons, enough to fund a nation. The disputed lands awaited, a lawless expanse where I'd carve my empire. But first, I needed to train my army, master my powers, enroll the Gacha for more tools. The system chimed. Daily GP earned, +1. Total GP, 60. I smiled. The game was just beginning. My status updated as we set sail. Name, Dominic Augustus. Race, human. Age, 15. Character assimilation, Toph Bifong, earthbending, seismic sense 40%. Powers, earthbending intermediate, seismic sense intermediate. Equipment, Captain America's shield, invisibility cloak. Spider-Man web shooters, Sokka's boomerang, standard steel sword. Iron dagger, flint knife, Geralt's leather jacket, leather boots. Plain cloak, waterskin, rope 20 feet, flint and steel. Small pouch, bread loaf, flask of ale, wool blanket. Iron shovel, candles X3, fishing line, small mirror, leather gloves, salted fish, small pouch of spices, wooden bowl, cloth sash, ink and quill, leather belt, apples X2, whetstone, copper coins X10, Konoha headband, cloth bandages, small pouch of herbs, torch, inventory 1000 meters by 1000 meters, sapphire ring, pearl encrusted goblet, silver dagger, gilded candelabra, jade statue, ruby encrusted scepter, diamond tiara, strange bronze ring, obsidian orb, 2,500,000 gold dragons. Followers, Aaron Sand, Missandei, 10,000 Unsullied, 500 men, 500 women, 100 children. Assets, 50 galleys. Gacha points, GP, 60. The sea stretched before me, and with it, my future. A kingdom of my own, built on earth and gold, was within reach. Freedom and power on the high seas. 296 AC. Dominic's POV. The high walls of Astapor faded into the horizon as our fleet of 50 ships cut through the waves. The sea stretched endless before us, a canvas of blue under a blazing sun. I stood at the prow of the lead galley, the wind whipping my black hair, my eyes fixed on the future. My army, 10,000 Unsullied, 500 men, 500 women, 100 children, and my allies Aaron Sand and Missandei, filled the ships behind me. 3 million gold dragons sat in my inventory, alongside artifacts like Captain America's shield and the invisibility cloak. The Gacha system had made me a force, but I wasn't here to play conqueror. Not yet. I wanted a kingdom, one built on loyalty, not chains. I turned to face the Unsullied on my ship, their disciplined ranks staring back, spears gleaming. Unsullied. I shouted, my voice carrying over the creak of wood and crash of waves. My name is Dominic Augustus. I request your service to achieve my goal, a kingdom of our own. When it's done, you're free to leave. No chains, no masters. A murmur rippled through them, rare for men trained to silence. I pressed on. Who is your commander? One stepped forward, his face stoic, eyes sharp. I am, he said. Your name? I asked. Brown Leech, he replied. I nodded. From now on, you're Demon. Then I looked at the others, choose a name that suits you, all of you. You're free from this day until your last. I don't own you, but I need your strength. You'll be paid for your service, handsomely. Are you with me? The Unsullied raised their spears, slamming them against the deck in unison, a thunderous boom that echoed across the fleet. Agreement, without a word. I turned to the men, women, and children, former slaves, now free, crowded on the deck. The same goes for you. Work with me, and you'll have a home, coin, and freedom. Are you in? They cheered, ragged but heartfelt, some weeping. Missandei, standing to my left, spoke softly. The good masters won't be pleased, my lord. I grinned. What can they do now? We're gone. Aaron Sand, leaning against the railing, scratched his neck. So, where are these ships sailing, my lord? The disputed lands, I said. That's where we'll build our kingdom. His eyes widened, but he nodded, used to my surprises. The disputed lands, lawless, fought over by Mur, Lee, and Tirosh, were perfect. Chaotic, unclaimed, a place where a man with power could rise. My power. The journey took 1 moon, 30 days of salt spray and rolling waves. Each day, the Gacha system chimed. Daily GP earned, +1. I'd saved 61 points before leaving Astapor, and with 30 more, I had 89 to burn. Then I used gold dragons to buy more GP. I decided to roll big, 150 times, using all 450 points. From the hall, the main rolls are. Item. Soul Contracts X20 binds a person's loyalty, unbreakable. Character card. Gellert Grindelwald, Harry Potter. Item. Super Soldier Serum X6 Marvel enhances strength, speed, and durability to Captain America levels. Item. Deadpool Swords Marvel Twin Katanas, razor sharp, durable. Item. Mara Mara no Mi, One Piece Devil Fruit granting fire manipulation, weakness to water remains. Item. Weakness Removal X3 eliminates one inherent weakness per use. Item. Random Pokemon Egg, hatches into an unknown Pokemon. Character card. Taskmaster, Marvel. Character card. Black Widow, Marvel. Miscellaneous items 141 food, bread, dried fruit, jerky, clothing, cloaks, tunics, tools, hammer, nails, rope, and minor valuables, silver rings, copper bracelets. The soul contracts were gold, loyalty was hard to come by in Essos. Then I assimilated the Grindelwald card. The Super Soldier Serum was perfect for my allies, and the Taskmaster and Black Widow cards could make them unstoppable. The Mara Mara no Mi was a op, fire powers in a world of swords and spears. Devastating is a small word. The Pokemon Egg was a mystery, stored safely in my inventory. I called Aaron, Missandei, and Demon to my cabin that night. Aaron, now used to my magic, watched calmly as I summoned 3 soul contracts from my inventory, glowing parchment with intricate runes. Missandei and Demon flinched, their eyes wide. What sorcery is this? Demon asked, gripping his spear. Not sorcery, I said. A gift. These contracts bind your loyalty to me, unbreakable unless I say so. In return, I'll make you stronger than you can imagine. Aaron shrugged. I swore already. Might as well make it official. Missandei hesitated, then nodded. I trust you, my lord. Demon studied me, then agreed. I'll serve. I handed each a contract. They signed, the parchment flaring briefly before vanishing into motes of light. The system confirmed. Soul contracts activated. Aaron Sand, Missandei, Demon. Their loyalty was mine, no betrayal possible. Next, I pulled 3 vials of Super Soldier Serum, their blue liquid shimmering. Drink, I said. It'll make you faster, stronger, tougher. Aaron downed his without hesitation, grinning as his muscles tensed, his frame visibly sharpening. Missandei sipped hers cautiously, gasping as energy surged through her. Demon drank last, his stoic face twitching as the serum took hold. They stood taller, their movements sharper, like predators unleashed. I wasn't done. Demon, you're getting skills unparalleled to anyone in this world. I pressed the Taskmaster card to his chest, and it glowed, sinking into him. His eyes widened as new instincts flooded his mind, photographic reflexes, the ability to mimic any skill he saw. Missandei. I applied the card, and she swayed, her posture shifting to a deadly grace, her mind now sharp with espionage and combat knowledge. They stared at me, awestruck, except Aaron, who just chuckled. You're a bloody wizard, m'lord. Something like that, I said, storing the remaining serums and contracts. I kept the Mara no mi. The weakness removals I saved, maybe for the devil fruit's water flaw. The Pokemon egg stayed in my inventory, its faint warmth a promise of something big. Over the moon at sea, I trained with my allies. Demon, now a super soldier with Taskmaster's skills, sparred with the 10 Unsullied at a time, copying their spear techniques flawlessly. Missandei, enhanced by Black Widow's template, moved like a shadow, teaching the women stealth and knifework. Aaron, stronger and faster, took to Deadpool's swords, twirling them with surprising skill. I practiced magic, of Grindelwald trying everything transfiguration, charms, dark magic, etc. My assimilation with Toph hit 100% now I can bend metal. The Unsullied chose new names, Rhaegar, Varys, Tycho, shedding their slave titles. The men, women, and children trained too, learning basic combat or shipwork, their spirits high with the promise of freedom. I paid them from my fortune, 100 gold dragons each, a pittance from my 3 million but life-changing for them. The system chimed daily, but I saved my GP, now at 11 after the 150 rolls. After a moon, the disputed lands appeared on the horizon, rocky coasts, rolling hills, and scattered ruins from endless wars. My fleet anchored off a deserted stretch, its cliffs defensible, its plains fertile. Perfect for a stronghold. I gathered my forces on the lead ship, updating my status. Name: Dominic Augustus. Race: human. Age: 15. Character assimilation: Toph Bifong, earthbending, seismic sense 50%. Powers: Earthbending, Advanced, Seismic Sense, Advanced. Equipment: Captain America's shield, invisibility cloak, Spider-Man web shooters, Sokka's boomerang, Deadpool's swords, Geralt's leather jacket, Mara no mi, weakness removal, X3, random Pokemon egg, soul contracts, X17, super soldier serum, X3, 2,354,400 gold dragons. Gacha points, GP, 0. Allies: Aaron Sand, soul contract, super soldier serum, Deadpool swords, Missandei, soul contract, super soldier serum, Black Widow template 30% demon, soul contract, super soldier serum, Taskmaster template 40% 10,000 Unsullied, 500 men, 500 women, 100 children. Assets: 50 ships. I stood on the shore, my army behind me, the cliffs rising like sentinels. This is it, I said to Aaron, Missandei, and Demon. Our kingdom starts here. Missandei's eyes gleamed with Black Widow's cunning. What's the first step, my lord? Build, I said. A fortress, a city, a home. I'll use my earthbending to raise walls, your skills to train our people, and our gold to draw allies. Demon nodded, his Taskmaster reflexes already scanning the terrain. Defensible. Good choice. Aaron twirled a katana. Gonna be a fight, m'lord. The disputed lands don't stay quiet. Let them come, I said, stomping the ground. A stone pillar rose, towering over the beach. We're ready. The Pokemon egg pulsed in my inventory, the Mara no mi tempting me with fire. My kingdom was a dream, but with my powers, my allies, and my wealth, it was a dream I'd make real. The disputed lands would bow to Dominic Augustus. Whispers of New Kingdom. Illyrio Mopatis's Pav. 298 AC, Pentos. The air in my manse hung heavy with the scent of spiced wine and incense, but it did little to soothe the unease gnawing at me. From the balcony overlooking Pentos's bustling streets, I awaited the arrival of Khal Drogo's Khalasar, 2 Targaryen siblings seated behind me, Viserys and Daenerys. My wealth, my influence, all rested on Varys's intricate plan for the Iron Throne. I hope your scheme holds, Varys, I thought, fingers tightening on the railing. The streets below teemed with merchants and carts, but my mind was elsewhere, tangled in rumors of a new power rising in the south. Lord Illyrio, Viserys's voice cut through, sharp and petulant. When is my army going to be here? I turned, forcing a practiced smile. The boy, barely a man, though he styled himself king, lounged on a cushioned chair, his silver hair gleaming under the torchlight, violet eyes narrowed with impatience. Soon, Your Grace, I said smoothly. We've heard the call is riding out with his band. They were last seen heading toward the new kingdom of Uric. Gods help us if that fool attacked Uric, I thought, my stomach twisting. My spies, reports were grim. Thousands had perished against Uric's walls, their armies broken by stone and sorcery. The city was an enigma, a fortress risen from the disputed land's chaos, its king, Dominic Augustus, a name spoken in whispers of fear and reverence. Daenerys, seated quietly beside her brother, looked up, her violet eyes bright with curiosity. Can you tell me again about this Uric, Lord Illyrio? Her voice was soft, laced with a hope that contrasted Viserys's arrogance. I leaned against the balcony, gathering the details my spies had painstakingly collected. The city lies on the coast south of here, in the heart of the disputed lands, near the entrance to what was once Old Valyria. It emerged after the sacking of Slavers' Bay, a free city where slavery is outlawed. No man, woman, or child wears chains there. Its king, Dominic Augustus, rules with a heavy hand against those who harm others. Such offenders are said to vanish, taken by the king himself or his unseen forces. I paused, noting the spark in Daenerys's eyes. The city is carved from the mountains, its walls unyielding against sand and sea. It gleams in the sunlight, so clean it seems unnatural. Some claim ancient guardians, beasts or spirits from Old Valyria, patrol its skies, striking down invaders. The people are cared for, fed, and housed, provided they contribute to the city's growth. It's a place of order amidst Essos's chaos, a beacon of freedom and strength. Daenerys's face lit up, her expression one of wonder, as if Uric embodied the haven she dreamed of, a place free from fear, where she could thrive. But Viserys scoffed, shattering the moment. Utter nonsense, he spat, leaning forward. He is some upstart squatting in the ruins of better days. I've seen the Red Keep, the greatest seat in the world. To think I, the last dragon, the true king of Westeros, would care for this filth-ridden corner of Essos is laughable. Gods, this boy is insufferable, I thought, swallowing the retort. Instead, I said, yes, Your Grace. The Call's party should arrive in a few days. Let us hope they come in peace. Viserys waved a dismissive hand, turning to his sister. Daenerys, be prepared. We must make you perfect for your new husband. He seized her chin, forcing her eyes to meet his. You must be flawless. We need his men to take back our rightful home. You can do that for me, can't you? You wouldn't want to wake the dragon, would you? Daenerys, barely 16, trembled under his grip, nodding frantically, fear etched into her young face. Good, Viserys said, releasing her. Be ready when he arrives. I won't have this deal ruined by your stupidity. I watched as servants ushered her out, her shoulders hunched, the weight of her brother's cruelty heavy on her. Varys, let your plan succeed, I thought, my heart sinking. All I want is Aegon on the Iron Throne. But the shadow of Uric loomed large. My spies spoke of its king, Dominic Augustus, a young man wielding powers beyond comprehension, stone that moved at his will, sorcery that rivaled Valyria's lost arts. If Drogo's Khalasar had clashed with him, our plans could be crumbling already. The reports were consistent. Uric had risen in 2 years, its walls carved from cliffs, its streets clean and sparkling. Slavery was abolished, enforced by a king who brooked no defiance. His army, thousands strong, included disciplined warriors unlike any in Essos, and his city drew refugees and sellswords, all swearing loyalty to a ruler who offered freedom and protection. Some claimed he commanded a dragon, not a Targaryen beast, but a creature that soared above Uric, guarding it from attack. Others whispered of artifacts, shields that deflected any blow, cloaks that hid him from sight, and a wand that sparked with unnatural light. Viserys's arrogance blinded him to the threat, but I saw it clearly. Uric was no myth. It was a power to rival the free cities, perhaps even Westeros. If Drogo's Khalasar had been foolish enough to challenge it, we might face a vengeful king instead of an ally. I poured myself a goblet of wine, the liquid trembling in my hand. The Targaryen siblings were my path to influence, but Uric's rise changed the game. Dominic Augustus was a name I'd need to watch, perhaps to court, perhaps to fear. As Daenerys's footsteps faded down the hall, I turned back to the balcony, the distant hum of Pentos filling the silence. The Khalasar would arrive soon, and with it, the next move in Varys's grand design. But my thoughts lingered on Uric, its gleaming walls, and the king who'd built a kingdom from nothing. What manner of man are you, Dominic Augustus? I wondered. And what would it mean for the Iron Throne if he turned his gaze north? No one's Pav. King's Landing. The Red Keep mourned in silence, its halls draped in the shadow of Jon Arryn's death. Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, strode through the corridors, his golden armor clinking softly, his face a mask of indifference hiding the weight of his thoughts. As he approached the small council chamber, Ser Barristan Selmy stood by the door, his white cloak pristine despite the somber air. Ser Jaime, Barristan greeted, his voice steady but heavy with the grief that hung over the court. Where is his grace? Jaime asked, already knowing King Robert Baratheon wouldn't be tangled in his usual vices, not today, not with his foster father dead. His grace is overseeing preparations to send Lord Arryn's body back to the Eyrie, Barristan replied, his eyes scanning the hall as the small council members began to gather, their footsteps echoing on the cold stone. The council chamber was a tense affair, the air thick with unspoken rivalries and the sting of loss. Varys, the spymaster, sat with his hands folded, his powdered face unreadable. Petyr Baelish, master of coin, lounged with a smirk that never quite reached his eyes. Renly Baratheon, the king's youngest brother, looked restless, while Grand Maester Pycelle hunched over his notes, his chains clinking. Queen Cersei Baratheon, resplendent in crimson and gold, presided with an icy authority, her brother Jaime standing at her side. Varys spoke first, his voice soft yet cutting through the room's murmur. My lords, my little birds bring grave news from Essos. Reports of strange creatures, beasts not of this world, have surfaced again. This is the 10th such report in 2 years. Their nest, it seems, lies in the new kingdom of Uric. The room stilled. Jaime's hand tightened on his sword hilt, a reflex born of unease. Uric. The name had crept into their councils before, a whisper from across the narrow sea, growing louder with each passing moon. A city risen from nothing in the disputed lands, its king, Dominic Augustus, a figure shrouded in mystery and dread. Any update on Uric itself? Petyr Baelish asked, his tone light but his eyes sharp. His own spies, usually so reliable, had vanished without a trace in the disputed lands, a fact that gnawed at him. Unfortunately, no, Varys replied, his lips pursing. My birds sing of walls that gleam like polished stone, of a king who wields powers beyond mortal stone that moves, fire that obeys his will. But details are scarce. Those who venture too close to Uric, do not return. Cersei's emerald eyes flashed, her patience thin. Enough of these tales, she snapped. My husband grieves for Jon Arryn. We will not trouble him with more ill-fated news of some upstart in Essos. Of course, your grace, Varys said, bowing his head, though his eyes flickered with something unreadable. Renly Baratheon leaned forward, his voice laced with irritation. My brother wishes to name a new hand of the king. He's set on traveling the King's Road to the north, Winterfell, I presume, to drag Ned Stark into this mess. His grace demands the council remain here, Grand Maester Pycelle added, his voice quavering as he clutched a raven's scroll. I've sent word to Winterfell, as he commanded. Jaime watched the exchange, his mind drifting to Cersei, of their children, of the fragile game they played in King's Landing. Baelish tapped his fingers on the table, his mind clearly working. This Dominic Augustus, if he's real, he's no mere warlord. A city that sparkles, creatures in the sky, armies that rival the free cities. We do well to learn more before he looks west. Varys nodded slightly. My birds will keep listening, Lord Baelish. But Uric is a fortress of secrets. Its king does not welcome spies. Cersei's lips curled. Then let him keep his desert kingdom. Westeros is ours to rule. We have no time for myths and monsters. The council moved on to trade disputes and royal finances, but the specter of Uric lingered, a shadow cast across the narrow sea. As the meeting adjourned, Jaime lingered by the window, staring east. The Game of Thrones was shifting, and a new player had entered the board, one whose power might reshape the world. The Golden King of Uric. Third-person POV. 298 AC. Kingdom of Uric. Uric, the city of dreams, stood as a beacon in the disputed lands, its white stone walls gleaming under the relentless SOC sun. To those who had once been slaves, it was the city of freedom, a sanctuary where chains were broken and hope flourished. To the outside world, it was a mystery, a fortress of wonders and terrors that repelled all who sought to harm it. Its glowing walls, paved streets, and fields of endless harvests baffled spies and invaders alike. The city had risen in a mere week. Within 3 months, it was a thriving hub, fields tilled, docks built, and homes raised, all under the watchful eye of its enigmatic king, Dominic Augustus. The people of Uric, many former slaves, marveled at their new lives. Farm animals, cows, sheep, pigs, chickens, appeared as if by magic, their origins unquestioned in gratitude for their king's generosity. Plumbing, a marvel as Dominic called it, replaced buckets and ditches with private latrines in every home and public bathhouses for cleanliness. No one asked where the water came from or where the waste went, it was enough that it worked, better than anything they'd known. Silks of the finest thread clothed the citizens, and trading ships docked at the port, bringing wealth and goods. The land itself seemed blessed, crops grew faster, people worked longer, their bodies stronger, though few noticed the subtle magic at play. Uric's design was impregnable, its three concentric walls reminiscent of legends from distant lands. The outermost wall guarded the fields and outer districts, the second protected the bustling city proper, and the innermost encircled the heart of Uric, where markets, homes, and forges thrived. At the southern edge, near the coast, stood the king's castle, a towering structure of pure white stone, positioned to repel naval invasions while its high walls defied land assaults. Gates and towers studded each wall, manned by disciplined warriors who moved with uncanny precision. In the morning light, Dominic Augustus stood on his castle's balcony, clad in a black silk robe, gazing over the city he'd built. The outer wall, facing the Dothraki Sea, loomed in the distance, a bulwark against the chaos of Essos. Behind him, Missandei stirred in his bed, her voice soft with sleep. Why did you leave? She murmured, missing his warmth. I was looking out over the city, Dominic replied, his eyes tracing the horizon where the first rays of sun touched the walls. Missandei rose, unabashed in her nakedness, and crossed to him. Dom, let Dragonite and Charizard handle those savages, she said, her hands sliding over his chest. They've scared off plenty of Dothraki before. They can do it again. He hummed, feeling her lips brush his neck. At 6 feet 6 inches and a foot taller than her, he savored the effort she put into reaching him, a familiar dance they both loved. Tides are changing, he said, leaning into her embrace. We're going to be busy from now on. Then the time has come to show the world, she replied, kissing his cheek. As much as I'd like to keep you to myself, you're too influential. Her lips grazed his shoulder. Too strong. She turned him, pushing him gently into the chair on the balcony. Too important. Straddling him, she lowered herself onto his lap, guiding him inside her with a slow, deliberate motion. And, as much as I'd hate to admit it, too insatiable to keep to myself. Dominic chuckled, hands resting on her hips. You, my dear, are the insatiable one. He knew she was right, she'd passed out from their passionate night before, yet here she was, hungry for more. Missandei moved slowly, panting, her kisses silencing his thoughts. He had magic to ensure no children would come from their union, a choice made to protect their path. She cried out, slamming herself down, her body trembling. So full. Missandei, he groaned, feeling her tighten around him. Love, please, she moved faster, lost in the rhythm, until they both reached their peak, her cries mingling with his grunt as he released, magic flaring to maintain their choice. As they held each other in the rising sun, bells tolled across Uric, a warning Dominic had long anticipated. He lifted Missandei, exhausted and glowing, and carried her to the bed. Love, I must go, he said, kissing her deeply. Be careful, she whispered, pulling him into a passionate kiss. I always am, he murmured, resting his forehead against hers before stepping away. An hour later, Dominic soared above Uric on Dragonite, Charizard gliding beside him. The Pokémon, born from the Gacha's Pokémon eggs, had grown into fearsome guardians. Dragonite, a dragon-type Pokémon, and Charizard, a fire Pokémon, were legends in their own right, their presence fueling tales of Uric's ancient guardians. Below, a Dothraki Commissar, 40,000 strong, churned the earth, their hooves a drumbeat detected by his seismic sense. This was not the first Dothraki assault in 2 years. Every Commissar that passed tested Uric's walls, only to be repelled by stone, fire, or Dominic's wrath. Most fled or negotiated, few survived defiance. He landed before the horde, Dragonite and Charizard flanking him, their roars shaking the air. Dominic wore the golden armor of Gilgamesh from the Fate series, a Gacha pull, its gleaming plates radiating power. Whispers rippled through the Dothraki, the Golden King, they called him, a title born from his venture into Valyria's ruins, where he'd claimed this a lot of Valyrian armors, swords, and untold riches. The doomed city had yielded to him, the first man since its fall to return alive. Who is the leader of this Commissar? Dominic called in Dothraki, his voice amplified by a flick of his wand. Who is your call? The horde trembled at the sight of his Pokémon, but some lowborn riders, eager for glory, charged. Charizard roared, unleashing a fire blast that incinerated them, leaving ashen screams. If your coward of a call won't face me, I'll kill you all, Dominic declared, his tone icy. You dare call our call, leader of the greatest Khalasar, a coward. A blood rider shouted, stepping forward. I'll call him worse if he doesn't kneel, Dominic replied. Do we fight for command, for your code, or do I slaughter you all? You're no Dothraki. A co bellowed. Kill the feeble man. The horde surged, thousands strong, their screams filling the air. Dominic sighed. Raising his wand he blasted Fiendfire. And he also commanded, Dragonite, Charizard, Fire Blast. The Pokémon roared, flames erupting in a wave that consumed the front ranks. Thousands burned, their cries swallowed by the inferno. The horde froze, horror etched on their faces. Bring out your call. Dominic's voice boomed, enhanced by magic, carrying over the sea of ash and fear. A hulking figure emerged, the call himself, his braid long and adorned with bells. You dare. He roared, striding forward. Finally showing yourself, worm, Dominic said, his wand steady. I am the greatest call among the Dothraki. I am, the call's words cut off as Dominic slashed his wand, unleashing a Sectum Sempra. A blade of invisible force sliced through the air, severing the call's head in a spray of blood. The body collapsed, bells jingling. You are dead, Dominic said coldly. He turned to the stunned Khalasar. Now, who's next? The Dothraki dropped to their knees, their weapons clattering to the ground. Dominic's golden armor gleamed, Dragonite and Charizard looming behind him. Uric's walls stood unbreached, its fields untouched. The horde's surrender was total, their will broken by a king who wielded earth, fire, and magic. Word of the massacre would spread, as it always did. Uric's legend grew, city of dreams, fortress of freedom, ruled by a king who could not be defied. In Pentos, Illyrio Mopatis would hear of this, his plans for the Targaryens shaken. In King's Landing, Varys's little birds would sing of the Golden King and his mystical creatures. But in Uric, life continued, fields were tilled, silks were worn, and the people prospered, their faith in Dominic Augustus unshakable. The tides were changing, and the world would soon know the true power of Uric. Status. Name. Dominic Augustus. Race. Human. Age. 18. Character assimilation. Toph Bifong, earthbending, seismic sense 100%. Gellert Grindelwald, dark magic, wand mastery 100%. Gall D. Roger, hockey, charisma 100%. Ted Mosby, architecture, storytelling 100%. Erwin Smith, leadership 30%. Powers. Earthbending, seismic sense master, reshapes landscapes, detects vibrations. Dark magic, wand mastery, master, casts powerful spells, wields elder wand. Hockey, master, conquerors, observation, armament hockey. Architecture, storytelling, master, designs flawless structures, inspires loyalty. Leadership, intermediate, strategic command, developing. Equipment. Captain America's shield, invisibility cloak, elder wand, two-way mirror. Inu Inu no Mi, Main no Mi, Tori Tori no Mi, Mara Mara no Mi, no water weakness. Weakness removal X8, Pokemon eggs X5, soul contracts X100. Lasso of Truth, Super Soldier Serum X20, Deadpool swords. Gilgamesh's golden armor. Inventory 10,000 meters by 10,000 meters, it increased. 25,354,400 gold dragons. Gacha points. 200. Allies. Aaron Sand. Soul Contract, Super Soldier Serum, Deadpool Swords, Afro Samurai 100%. Masande. Soul Contract, Super Soldier Serum, Black Widow 100%, Emma Frost 100%. Demon. Soul Contract, Super Soldier Serum, Taskmaster 100%. Pokemon. Charizard, Dragonite, Rapidash, Gyarados, Altaria, Eevee, Celebi. A Dragon's Hope. Daenerys's POV. 298 AC, Pentos. 2 weeks had passed since that tense conversation with my brother Viserys and Lord Illyrio Mopatis, and every moment since had been a whirlwind of preparation for this day. Servants fussed over me, pampering me after a bath to make me appear the princess I was born to be. That bath was wonderful, I thought, wincing slightly as a comb tugged through my silver hair. The water had been scalding, or so the servants claimed, but to me, it felt like any other bath, warm, comforting, unremarkable. Baths were a rare luxury in my life, and I savored them, even if I didn't understand why the heat never bothered me. The next 2 hours, however, were the most aggravating of my life. Viserys found fault with everything. My dress, a flowing lilac gown, didn't reveal enough of my body for his liking, and he demanded it changed. My makeup was too bold, then too plain, forcing me to scrub it off for a lighter touch. My hair, painstakingly braided, wasn't positioned to his satisfaction. His violet eyes burned with barely restrained fury, and I saw the threat of his hand in the way he loomed over me. He's so close to striking me, I thought, my heart racing. Thank the gods, scouts reported the call was near, sparing me his wrath, for now. As the moment approached, my nerves frayed. Will the call like me? Will I face Viserys' dragon if I fail? The questions swirled, a storm in my mind. I watched my brother pace the hall, his silk cloak swishing with each step, his face twisted in irritation. How long does this savage expect us to wait? Viserys snapped, turning to Illyrio. I am a king, and this barbarian dares delay me. I do not know, your grace, Illyrio said, his plump face glistening with sweat as he glanced nervously toward the gates. The scouts said he would be here by now. Before Viserys could unleash another tirade, a man hurried to Illyrio's side. My lord, a call is here to speak with you. He and his party await in the garden. Finally, this savage has wasted enough of our time, Viserys growled, seizing my arm and pulling me toward the door. Oh no. This is it. My stomach churned as I walked between Viserys and Illyrio, my heart pounding. The garden tent loomed ahead, its silks fluttering in the breeze. This moment would change my life forever. Inside the tent stood the call, a figure of terrifying presence. As we approached, I glanced at his guards. These aren't the Dothraki I've heard of. Their metal armor gleamed, unlike the leather and bone of typical riders, and their discipline was unnerving. Then a woman emerged from the tent, and my breath caught. If she's near the call, what chance do I have? She was close to my age, her ebony hair silky, her round face framed by striking blue eyes. Her dusky skin glowed in a white dress that hugged her curves, exuding exotic beauty. My call thanks you for your offer, she said, her voice clear and confident. However, the deal made with Khal Drogo is void, as he has been bested and slain. If you wish a new alliance, my call will listen. I stared, speechless, my heart sinking. All of this, for nothing. Viserys' face reddened, but Illyrio spoke quickly. I am Illyrio Mopatis. We seek an alliance between your Khalasar and the Targaryens of Valyria, sealed by the marriage of your Khal to Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen. The woman retreated into the tent, speaking briefly, then returned. My Khal is pleased with this deal. The alliance will proceed as planned. He wishes to rest before finalizing terms. Viserys bristled. I demand an audience. I am the rightful king of the Iron Throne. Illyrio. His words were cut off as the guards drew their blades, their movements swift and synchronized. You dare demand from our king. One growled. Fear gripped me. Viserys' arrogance would get us killed. Before the situation escalated, a deep voice boomed from the tent. Enough. Leave, or death follows. Bring the girl inside. My eyes widened. He wants me. Brother, I whispered, trembling. You will do everything to secure this deal, Viserys snarled, his grip bruising my arm. You will not wake the dragon if you fail. The guards pushed him back, and I stumbled toward the tent, my legs weak. Terrified didn't begin to describe it. The woman took my arm gently, whispering, don't worry. The king wanted you away from your brother. Madness seems to have taken him. Her kindness steadied me as we entered the tent. You are as beautiful as the rumors say, a voice said. I looked up, startled, at a man unlike any Khal I'd imagined. He wore a white shirt under an open red coat, black pants, and his raven black hair was tousled, begging to be touched. His golden eyes glowed, piercing yet warm. A Valyrian steel blade, its design unique, hung at his side. I bowed, my voice soft. I am Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen. He studied me, his presence commanding yet gentle. Are you okay with this marriage, Daenerys? Yes, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. He tilted his head. Are you saying that because your brother demands it, or are you truly okay with it? I hesitated, then met his gaze. I'm truly okay with it. And I meant it. Something about him felt safe, unlike Viserys' cruelty. He nodded, turning to a man at his side. Aaron, go speak with the beggar king. Tell him I'll take the bride, and he'll have the Khalasar. Aaron chuckled. Yeah, I'll make sure they accept. He left the tent, his swords glinting. Dominic gestured to a chair beside him. Sit, Daenerys. I obeyed, my hands trembling slightly. He poured me a drink, a golden liquid that fizzed. I sipped it, the sweet, buttery taste surprising me. I couldn't hide my delight, and he chuckled. Did you enjoy it? I nodded, smiling shyly. It's wonderful. It's a specialty of ours, he said, his voice warm. We call it butterbeer. We've just started exporting it. Curiosity overcame my nerves. How did you become Call of the largest Khalasar? My brother said Khal Drogo was coming. Dominic leaned back, his golden eyes distant. Some Dothraki attacked my city. I learned they had a deal with Targaryens and one of the biggest Khalasars. By Dothraki law, I challenged Drogo to single combat. We fought, and now I'm here. You killed Khal Drogo? I asked, shocked. He nodded. Yes. Then he shifted, his tone gentle. But enough about me. Missandei, please see to our guest, Daenerys Stormborn of House Targaryen. I hesitated, then asked, will you really help us? Daenerys, he said, and my heart fluttered at the way he said my name. I'll help you. Your brother, unfortunately, is a lost cause. Once Valyrian madness takes hold, little can stop it. But, I faltered, stunned. Missy, please, he said to the woman, Missandei. Have the staff help with her things. He turned to me. Your brother is part of the deal, I suppose. I'll ensure he has what he needs to live, but I can't help him take the Seven Kingdoms now. But the people sing of our return, I pleaded. They wish for us. Dominic's eyes softened, but his words were firm. The people don't care, Daenerys. Only Dorne might, and that's for revenge, not loyalty. Go with Missandei. She'll guide you. Don't dwell on this. Aaron will speak with Illyrio, and we'll plan what comes next. I nodded, my mind reeling, and followed Missandei out. For the first time, I felt a flicker of hope, not for Viserys's dreams, but for my own. This call, this king, was unlike any man I'd known. Perhaps with him, I could find a path to something greater than fear. A union sealed in fire. Third person POV. 298 AC, Pentos, 1 week later. This wretched week can finally end, Dominic Augustus thought, seated beside Daenerys Targaryen under a canopy in Illyrio Mopatis's garden, swarmed by gifts from the Dothraki and Pentoshi alike. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine and roasted meat, but Dominic's mind was elsewhere. All I want is to be back in Uric, planning my next move. Beside him, Daenerys, radiant in a lilac gown, accepted gifts with a shy smile, her silver hair catching the sunlight. Not that anything went as planned. Aaron Sand, his loyal guard and friend, grumbled nearby. Sorry, my friend, Dominic whispered, leaning toward him. This will be over soon. Aaron smirked, his supersoldier-enhanced frame relaxed but alert. Your new wife's quite beautiful, he teased, nodding at Daenerys. Stop teasing him, Missandei chided, her dusky skin glowing in a white dress as she translated the Dothraki's words for Daenerys, her Black Widow and Emma Frost templates making her a vision of grace and cunning. Daenerys glanced at Dominic, her violet eyes wide. These people are all here for us. Kind of, Dominic replied, his voice low. The Khalasar follows the call. They're nomadic, but they tend to cause more trouble than they're worth. He was eager to leave their company, his mind on Uric's gleaming walls. I still can't believe you're the king of Uric, Daenerys said, her voice tinged with awe as another guest presented a woven rug. Is your city really made of gold? Dominic chuckled, shaking his head. No, but it shines like it. Stone, mostly, carved by my hand. You'll see it soon. His gaze shifted as Illyrio and Viserys approached, the latter's face twisted with impatience. Your Grace, Illyrio said, bowing slightly, his servant opening a chest. My gift for your wedding. May these fossilized eggs symbolize the joy of your life. Daenerys gasped, her eyes locked on the 3 dragon eggs, green, black, and gold. Are these dragon eggs? Yes, Illyrio said. Sadly, fossilized, unable to hatch. Dominic's magic stirred, Grindelwald's power pulsing through him. He channeled it subtly into the eggs, feeling a faint hum of life awaken within them. She'll hatch them in time, he thought, a smile tugging at his lips. Thank you, Daenerys said, mesmerized, her fingers brushing the green egg scales. Missandei leaned in, her voice formal. My call, it is time to consummate the marriage. Dominic nodded, glancing at Aaron. Right, we'll be back. Keep the Khalasar in check. Don't let them wreak havoc. Of course, Aaron replied, his eyes scanning the crowd for trouble. Viserys grabbed Daenerys's arm, his voice venomous. You will give him the best time of his life. Ensure I get my army, or you'll face the dragon. Release my wife. Dominic's voice boomed, amplified by magic. He pulled Daenerys to him, his golden eyes flashing. Lifting her onto their horse, he murmured, Don't worry, I'll keep you safe. She curled into him, her trembling easing. They rode toward a secluded valley, Dominic ensuring everything is comfortable for her as they rode. After a short ride, they stopped at hills far from Pentos's noise. This should do, he muttered, dismounting. Daenerys watched him, curious. Dragonite, Charizard, come out. Dominic called, his voice ringing. What are you? Daenerys began, then froze as Dragonite and Charizard materialized, their massive forms looming. Dragonite's draconic aura and Charizard's fiery tail left her speechless. The one with the fiery tail is Charizard, Dominic explained. The other's Dragonite. Meet Daenerys. Charizard growled, Char, Char, while Dragonite hummed, acknowledging her. Daenerys's eyes widened in wonder. How? She asked, stepping closer. Magic, Dominic said simply, his lips curling into a teasing grin. Like the kind that makes a Targaryen princess blush. Daenerys's cheeks flushed, and she looked away, shy. I don't blush that easily. Oh, I think you do, he teased, stepping closer, his towering frame casting a shadow. I bet I could make you blush brighter than Charizard's flame. She ducked her head, her silver hair falling over her face. Stop it, she mumbled, but a smile tugged at her lips. Dominic chuckled, leaning down to meet her eyes. What's wrong, Daenerys Stormborn? Afraid a call's charm is too much for you. Her shyness flickered, and a spark of defiance lit her violet eyes, the inner dragon awakening. You think you're charming. She shot back, stepping closer, her voice gaining strength. I've faced my brother's temper. A teasing call is nothing. He raised an eyebrow, delighted. Oh, the dragon bites back. Good. I like a wife with fire. Daenerys crossed her arms, her blush fading as she held his gaze. You'll find I have plenty of fire, call. Don't test me. Test you. Dominic grinned, stepping so close she had to tilt her head to meet his eyes. I'm just warming you up, princess. Wait till you see what Uric has in store. Her lips parted, a retort ready, but she faltered, her boldness softening. You're impossible, she said, her voice half aspiration. And you're adorable when you try to keep up, he replied, winking. Come on, let's talk somewhere quieter. He led her to a shaded spot under a tree, the valley's breeze cooling the air. They sat, and he poured her another cup of butterbeer from his inventory. She sipped, her eyes lighting up again. This is incredible. You said it's from Uric. Made it myself, he said, leaning back. Well, with a bit of magic. You'll love the city. No slaves, no filth. Just freedom and strength. Daenerys's expression softened, her fingers tracing the cup's rim. Freedom, I've never known it. Not truly. You will, Dominic said, his tone serious. With me, you'll be free. No one will hurt you, not Viserys, not anyone. She looked at him, her eyes searching. Why me? You're a king, a call, with others. Why marry me? He tilted his head, teasing again. Maybe I just wanted a dragon princess to make my city shine brighter. She swatted his arm, her shyness returning. Stop that. I'm serious. So am I, he said, his voice softening. You're strong, Daenerys, even if you don't see it yet. I saw it in your eyes when you stood up to me just now. You're not just Viserys' sister. You're a queen in waiting. Her breath caught, and she looked away, her cheeks pink. I don't know if I can be that. You can, he said firmly. And I'll help you find out. But first, he grinned, leaning closer. You've got to survive me. She laughed, the sound bright and free, her inner dragon stirring again. You're awful, she said, shoving him playfully. But I'll survive you, call. Just watch. That's my girl, he said, standing and offering his hand. Come on. Let's make this official. Daenerys took his hand, her nervousness returning but tempered by excitement. Where are we going? Somewhere private, he said, his eyes glinting. A bed's better than a hillside, don't you think? Her face flushed scarlet, and she stammered, wait, what? He laughed, pulling her toward Dragonite. Relax, princess. I'll be gentle, unless you bite back again. 2 hours later, no one pav. Lemon warning. Dominic Augustus lifted Daenerys off Dragonite, carrying her into a private magical tent he'd prepared, its silks shimmering in the valley's dusk. Where? She started, but he silenced her with a kiss, his lips claiming hers with a hunger that made her moan. His tongue explored her mouth, and she melted into him, her hands clutching his robes. He set her on the bed, his magic tearing her dress with a flick of his hand. You are mine, he said, climbing over her, his hands roaming her bare skin, igniting sparks of pleasure. Yes. She gasped, arching as his hand slid between her thighs, his fingers brushing her folds, thumb circling her clit. Does that feel good, my dragon queen? He murmured. Yes, she cried, hips bucking, craving more. Her nails dug into his shoulders, her sensitivity overwhelming. He teased her, fingers slow, drawing out her moans. Please, she begged, her body trembling with new sensations. Not yet, he said, smirking as she bit his shoulder, her nails raking his back. Just as she neared her peak, he paused, making her whimper. Please, don't stop, she pleaded, her voice desperate. He pressed his thumb harder, and she shattered, crying out as he sucked her breast, her pink nipple hard under his tongue. He pinched her other nipple, his fingers slipping into her folds, exploring her wetness. I think I'll taste you next, he said, kissing down her body. His tongue dipped into her folds, and Daenerys, still reeling from her first climax, gasped. What are? Her words dissolved into a scream. Gods, as he licked, her body shaking, liquid flooding his face. Her legs clamped around him, trapping him as he continued, her cries echoing for minutes. She gasped, vision clearing. Dominic rose, his golden eyes intense. Now for the main part, he said, easing her nerves with magic to dull any pain. He pushed in slowly, inch by inch, pausing at her barrier. Last chance to back out. Daenerys wrapped her legs around him, pulling him past it. Pain flared briefly, then stars burst in her vision as he filled her. He's so big, she thought, clamping down, overwhelmed. He moved slowly, then faster, her moans filling the tent. Your Grace, please, she gasped, lost in pleasure. Dom, he corrected, slowing briefly. Call me Dom. Dom, please, keep going, she begged, nearing another peak. He growled, you are mine. Slamming into her, pushing her over the edge. Yours. She screamed, her climax hitting as he drove deep, his own release flooding her, triggering another wave of pleasure. Lemon end. Dominic collapsed beside her, pulling the covers over them as she passed out, curling into him. First time was too much for her, he thought, holding her close. Next day. Where are they? Viserys shouted, his face purple with rage as he stormed through Illyrio's courtyard, furious that Daenerys hadn't returned. I'm sure they're on their way, Illyrio said, watching the Khalasar prepare to depart. Dragonite and Charizard landed in the fields, their wings stirring dust. Dragons. Viserys exclaimed, eyes wild. With them, I could take the 7 kingdoms. Sorry I'm late, Dominic said, dismounting Dragonite, his red coat billowing. Are you ready to go home? About time, Aaron said, patting Dragonite. Been a good boy. Missandei, ready to return? Dominic asked, ignoring Viserys. Yes, she began, but Viserys interrupted. Where is my sister? He demanded. Sleeping at home, Dominic said coolly. I've come for my guard and wife. You owe me an army. Viserys yelled, stepping closer. You've taken my treasure. Uphold your bargain. Dominic raised an eyebrow. You have your army. They're heading to the Dothraki Sea. Good luck being Khal. I demand your dragons. Viserys shouted. I'm a Targaryen. They're my birthright. Illyrio tried to intervene. Your Grace. Dragons. Dominic stepped toward Viserys, towering over him. They're not dragons. And don't talk to me of demands. You have your army. Fight your war. Turning to the Khalasar, he spoke in Dothraki. I release my leadership to this man, the last dragon. You are free to choose your path. Never return to Uric's walls. Facing Viserys one last time, he said, you have your army. Do not come to Uric. You're no longer needed in your sister's life. What about my dragon? Viserys called as Aaron urged Charizard skyward. Find an egg and hatch it, Dominic shot back, settling behind Missandei on Dragonite. I'm sure the last dragon can manage. You've condemned him to death, Missandei said, snuggling closer as they took flight. Not my problem, Dominic replied. Uric and my wives are my concern. With Dany with us, and Jon Arryn's death stirring Westeros, we must prepare for war. A new dawn in Uric. Third-person POV. 298 AC, Pentos. Illyrio Mopatis stood in his lush garden, watching Dominic Augustus ascend into the sky atop Dragonite, Charizard soaring beside him, with Missandei and Aaron Sand in tow. The air thrummed with the beat of their wings, and Illyrio's mind reeled. Magical creatures. Honest to gods. Where had this man, this so-called Golden King, acquired such beasts? The implications for Varys' carefully laid plans were catastrophic. Beside him, Viserys Targaryen seethed, his silver hair glinting in the sun as he shouted, Illyrio, this is not our deal. I was not given my birthright. Those dragons are mine. Illyrio's patience frayed, but he kept his voice smooth. Your Grace, I cannot alter the terms. The bride price was paid, he gestured to a figure emerging from the Khalasar. Thankfully, we've secured you an advisor. Jorah. A grizzled man in worn armor stepped forward, kneeling before Viserys. Your Grace, he said, his voice steady despite the tension. This is Esir Jorah Mormont, Illyrio explained. He will guide you. Viserys's eyes narrowed. Good enough for now, I suppose. I have an army. But I demand everything that man has. He spat in the face of the last dragon. He turned to Jorah. You'll help me claim what's rightfully mine. Illyrio watched Viserys stride toward the Khalasar's leaders, his arrogance a beacon. They follow Dominic's orders for now, Illyrio thought, but that boy's attitude will get him killed. He began drafting a message to Varys, his mind racing with new plans to salvage their scheme. Winterfell. Lord Eddard Stark stood before Winterfell's gates, the cold northern air biting as he awaited King Robert Baratheon. The rebellion was long over, yet Ned felt its weight, his family lost to the Mad King's cruelty, his nephew hidden as a bastard to shield him from harm. Jon Snow, the bastard of Winterfell, bore names that tormented Catelyn, but Ned could never reveal the truth. Better to take it to my grave, he thought as the royal guard's banners appeared. Robert got off his horse, grinning. You got fat. He boomed, prompting a wry look from Ned. They laughed, embracing warmly. Cat. Robert called, hugging Catelyn, then greeting their children with praise for their traits. Winterfell is yours, Ned said, welcoming his old friend. Come, show me to the crypts, Robert said, ignoring Cersei's emergence from the carriage. We've ridden all day, my love, surely the dead can wait. Ned, come, Robert insisted, brushing past her. The Queen's children followed. Arya asks, where's the imp? Earning a glare from Cersei and her mother, then Cersei orders Jaime to fetch Tyrion. Well, that could have gone better, Robb Stark muttered to Theon Greyjoy. You're telling me, Theon replied. If that's marriage, I'll stay single. In the crypts, Robert stood silent before Lyanna's statue for 20 minutes. Ned, he finally said, I need your help. Something's changing. The kingdoms are weak. Robb, the 7 kingdoms are loyal. No force can overtake us without dragons, Ned countered. I've read the reports, Robert said. A new player in Essos, Dragonspawn making alliances. My family hates me. We'd be united if not for that Targaryen devil. Let it go, Ned urged. The Targaryens are across the sea, powerless. Lyanna wouldn't want you killing for her. But we both did, Robert shot back. I'm king of the 7 bloody kingdoms. I want you as hand of the king. Ned knelt. Your Grace, it's an honor, but my place is the north. You helped me take the throne. Help me protect it, Robert said, pinning the hand's badge on Ned's chest. That night, Catelyn fumed. This is bad, Ned. Tell him no. He's the king, Ned argued. And Lisa's letter about Jon Arryn's death, I must find the culprit. How long? She asked. A moon before we march south, Ned replied. A week later, Ned and Robert hunting in the Wolfswood when a messenger galloped up. My lord, an emergency. Jory Castle called. Ned raced to Winterfell, bursting into Bran's room. What happened? We found him at the tower's base, Jaime Lannister said, his face grim. I noticed him while returning from training. How did you see him? Ned asked, rage simmering. A wolf was growling in the bushes, Jaime explained. Then I saw your son. Ned exhaled, gratitude warring with grief. Thank you, Sir Jaime. If you need anything. No thanks necessary, Jaime said. I'm sorry it happened this way. Ned, we'll discuss what's to be done, Robert said. Jaime, find your sister and brother for prayers. Jaime left, his thoughts dark. He hadn't meant for Bran to fall, only to protect his and Cersei's secret. At the whorehouse, he found Tyrion. Your presence is needed, Jaime called as a woman yelped, grabbing her clothes. Brother, must you interrupt? Tyrion groaned, sitting up. One of Stark's sons has fallen from the wall, Jaime said, tossing him his pants. Get up. Fallen? Tyrion asked, dressing. Yes, Jaime said, recounting the scene. Those wolves will be grumpy, Tyrion noted. Yes, I'll be traveling to the wall, avoiding our brother-in-law and his son. Yeah, we need to move. You won't leave again until we do, Jaime said. Get our nephew first, Jaime said. I'll fetch Cersei. Tyrion said, giving Jaime a look. Speaking of our nephew, he's been a pain since we got here. You'll have to get him. I've been instructed to get Cersei, Jaime said, walking with his brother. Always the evil uncle to discipline, Tyrion said, seeing the castle. We shouldn't keep his majesty waiting. I'll see you once you get our sister. At Cersei's door, Esser Marin Trant blocked him. Her Grace said no one enters, Kingslayer. This is the king's command, Jaime replied, shoving past. Cersei. What's going on? Cersei demanded, startled. Bran Stark's injured, Jaime said. Robert wants us for prayers. You wouldn't be in this mess if you'd controlled yourself, Cersei hissed, dressing. You're as much to blame, Jaime whispered. The boys saw nothing. Our hands are clean. If he survives, we need a plan, Cersei said. We can stage it as an assassin from Uric, then we could rally the kingdoms. You're vindictive, Jaime muttered as they neared Bran's room. Tyrion, meanwhile, entered the courtyard, dreading family gatherings. Joffrey accosted him, Sandor Clegane at his side. Whoring before we've settled in this dump. Joffrey sneered. Whores know the people best, Tyrion quipped. Heard a boy was hurt. Father's acting like it's an attack on him, Joffrey whined. Why go to them? It's expected, and you will go and offer your sympathies to them, Tyrion said. Joffrey tries to retort, but Tyrion smacks Joffrey. Offer condolences to the Starks. How dare you? Joffrey spat, silenced by another smack. Go, Tyrion ordered. Joffrey stormed off, Sandor warning, he'll remember this. If he forgets, be a good dog and make sure he remembers, Tyrion retorted, heading to castle. Uric. Daenerys Targaryen had been in Uric a week, awestruck by its pristine streets and public baths, affordable for all. Her silk dress, woven from magical spider silk, hugged her curves, a gift from Dominic. One night, lying with Dominic and Missandei, he explained, Uric's silk comes from giant spiders, regulated in their forest by magic. They sound intelligent, Daenerys said skeptically. They are, Dominic chuckled. The elder spiders keep order. Dragonite and Charizard ensure they behave. And occasionally me. What did you do? Daenerys asked, seeing Missandei chuckle. He walked into their nest to protect us, Missandei said, shaking her head. I've never seen such slaughter. It worked, Dominic said. They're allies now, especially after Slavers Bay's attack. Daenerys shivered, recalling rumors of an army vanishing. Uric's people thrived, their clothes lightweight, their lives vibrant. Dominic had gifted her the Mara Mara no Mi, granting body made of fire and power to control it, and taught her hockey, awakening her inner strength. Missandei became a kindred soul, though Daenerys initially wanted Dominic alone. Their passionate nights left her breathless, often unable to move, frustrating her. In a bathhouse, she vented to Missandei. He's too much for one of us, Missandei said, laughing. I'm glad you're here. I can avoid a cum-filled stupor. You were in my position. Daenerys asked, curious. 2 magical years, Missandei said, blushing. His magic strengthens him. He built Uric in a week. How strong is he? Daenerys asked, nervous. Insatiable, one time he took 5 girls to bed. The poor girls were delirious. Missandei replied. Did it work? Daenerys asked, rubbing her thighs to hide her arousal. No, he was too much for 5 girls, Missandei said, shuddering at the memory. He walked out, saw me, and pulled me in. It was my first time with another woman. Lemon warning. Missandei's hands slid from Daenerys's hair to her shoulders, then neck. Want to feel exotic pleasure? She whispered, sucking Daenerys's earlobe. We can take him together. Daenerys moaned as Missandei's hands grazed her breasts, her towel falling. Do you want me to continue? Missandei teased, pinching a nipple. Yes. Daenerys gasped as Missandei's fingers slipped between her legs, curling inside. Or my mouth. All of it, Daenerys moaned as Missandei's tongue flicked her nipple, climbing atop her. Dominic treats you well, Missandei said, lowering her mouth to Daenerys's core. Ah! Daenerys cried, climaxing as Missandei lapped her juices. You taste delicious, Dany, Missandei chuckled, kissing her, letting Daenerys taste herself. We have time to practice, Missandei said, her hand slipping back down. Yes. Daenerys yielded, lost in pleasure. Lemon end. Later, Dominic found them entwined, chuckling. Daenerys bonded with Missandei, exploring Uric with her and Daemon, savoring cinnamon rolls and the city's vibrancy. Thoughts of Viserys lingered, though. Dominic, she said one morning, resisting the urge to pull him back to bed, have you heard about my brother? No, which is good, he said, pulling on his pants. He'd have hurt you if I'd left you with him. He's family, she said, recalling his slaps. I'll ensure he's cared for, but I can't stop his foolishness, Dominic said. He's calm now, but if he's not calm, he'll do something drastic. You don't think, Daenerys trailed off. He demanded Dragonite and Charizard like they're his, Dominic said. He'll come for them or your eggs if he knows they can hatch. They're not beasts. Daenerys said, stroking Evie, who'd scampered in, interrupting their moment. Dominic grumbled, just when it was getting good, Evie. Daenerys chuckled as Celebi joined, floating playfully. As they played with the Pokemon, Dominic asked, Danny, do you want the Iron Throne? We could take it in a day. She laughed. Why leave this peaceful life for a viper's pit? How about a visit? He suggested. To see where your mother grew up, where your family ruled. They'd recognize me instantly, she said. It'd start a war. I can change your hair and eye color with magic, he offered. Would you go then? Yes, she said, excited. Where first? The king's in Winterfell, he said. How about there? When? She asked, eyes sparkling. Tomorrow morning, he said. You, me, and Missy. A journey to Winterfell. Name: Dominic Augustus. Race: human. Age: 18. Character assimilation. Toph Bifong, earthbending, seismic sense 100%. Gellert Grindelwald, dark magic, wand mastery 100%. Gall D. Roger, hockey, charisma 100%. Ted Mosby, architecture, storytelling 100%. Erwin Smith, leadership 40%. Equipment: Captain America's shield, invisibility cloak, elder wand, two-way mirror. Inu Inu no Mi, main no Mi, Tori Tori no Mi. Weakness removal X7, Pokemon eggs X5, soul contracts X100. Lasso of truth, super soldier serum X19. Gilgamesh's golden armor. 25,354,400 gold dragons. Gacha points, 207. Allies. Aaron Sand, soul contract, super soldier serum, Deadpool swords, Afro samurai 100%. Missandei, soul contract, super soldier serum, Black Widow 100%, Emma Frost 100%. Daenerys Targaryen, soul contract, super soldier serum, Mara Mara no Mi, Boa Hancock template 20% without devil fruit powers. Demon, soul contract, super soldier serum, Taskmaster 100%. Pokemon: Charizard, Dragonite, Rapidash, Gyarados, Altaria, Eevee, Celebi. A secret venture to Winterfell. Third-person POV. 298 AC, Uric, morning. The garden of Dominic Augustus's castle in Uric burst with vibrant blooms, a vivid contrast to the plain common folk clothes he, Daenerys, and Missandei wore to avoid attention on their journey. Dominic donned a simple brown tunic and cloak. Daenerys and Missandei, in modest woolen dresses, stood close, their excitement tinged with nervous anticipation. Aaron Sand, nearby in leather armor, adjusted his swords, preparing for his own journey. When are you leaving for Dorne, Aaron? Dominic asked, his voice low as he scanned the garden. Midday, Aaron replied, securing his gear. Our trade ship's heading there. I'll catch a ride. Dominic nodded, then turned to Daenerys, holding out a silver ring etched with faint runes. Dany, wear this. She slipped it onto her finger, gasping as her silver hair darkened to jet black and her violet eyes shifted to warm brown. She rushed to a nearby fountain, marveling at her reflection. It's incredible, she exclaimed, touching her altered hair. Dominic grinned, his elder wand tucked discreetly in his sleeve. Ready, both of you. Missandei and Daenerys nodded, but Daenerys tilted her head. How are we getting there? He smirked, eyes twinkling with mischief. Magic. They chuckled, shaking their heads at his flair for drama. Of course, Missandei said, rolling her eyes playfully. Give me your hands, Dominic instructed, taking one from each wife. His magic surged, and with a deep breath, he apparated, the trio vanishing from Uric with a soft pop. Wintertown. They reappeared on the outskirts of Wintertown, the biting northern cold hitting them like a wall. Daenerys and Missandei staggered, faces paling as they doubled over, vomiting from the squeezing sensation of their first apparition. Dominic, unfazed by the spell, rubbed their backs gently. You'll get used to it, he said, chuckling. First time's always rough. Never again, Daenerys groaned, wiping her mouth with her sleeve, her brown eyes glaring at him. Absolutely not, Missandei muttered, shivering as a gust of wind whipped through. Dominic pulled 2 cloaks from his dimensional inventory, each enchanted with body-warming charms. Here, he said, draping them over his wives. The cloaks radiated warmth, easing their shivers as they straightened, grateful. They trekked toward Wintertown, its bustling streets alive with merchants hawking wares and locals hurrying about. King Robert Baratheon's retinue had swelled the town, making the trio's arrival unremarkable. The market brimmed with Uric's goods, spider silk fabrics shimmering in the light, polished tools crafted from Gacha blueprints, and vibrant produce grown from high-quality seeds Dominic had acquired through his system. For a year, Uric's trade with the Seven Kingdoms had flourished, its innovations spreading far. Daenerys and Missandei paused at a flower stall, captivated by winter roses, their pale blue petals delicate yet resilient. "They're beautiful," Daenerys said, tucking one into her black hair, the contrast striking. "Want to see Winterfell?" Dominic asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," Missandei said eagerly, but Daenerys frowned. "How? There are guards everywhere." Dominic's lips curled into a sly grin as he waved his elder wand subtly. A disillusionment charm cloaked them, rendering them invisible to all but each other. "Follow me," he whispered, leading them toward Winterfell's gates. As they neared, they overheard guards muttering gravely. Bran Stark fell from a tower. Hasn't woken up. Dominic's eyes narrowed. So it's happened. The timeline of Westeros was unfolding as he'd anticipated, the tragedy of Bran's fall a pivotal moment. They slipped through the gates, their charmed invisibility keeping them undetected. In the courtyard, they watched Robb Stark spar with Theon Greyjoy, wooden swords clacking rhythmically. Robb, tall and broad-shouldered, disarmed Theon with a swift move, earning a grin from his friend. "Not bad, Stark," Theon said, clapping his shoulder. Prince Joffrey Baratheon sauntered into the courtyard, his golden hair gleaming, a sneer on his face. "Boys playing war with wooden swords," he mocked, his voice dripping with disdain. Robb bristled, stepping forward. "Care to try, Prince?" Joffrey's eyes gleamed with malice. "Spar with real steel, Stark. Or are you too craven?" "I'll do it," Robb said, his jaw set. Sir Roderick Castle, Winterfell's master-at-arms, intervened, his voice firm. "No, Your Grace. Blunted swords only. I'm the prince." Joffrey snapped, his face reddening. "We'll use real steel." "You're a prince, which is why I won't allow it," Roderick said, unyielding. Sandor Clegane, the Hound, loomed at Joffrey's side, his scarred face twisting. "He trains them like women," he growled. Roderick glared, stepping closer. "Mind your tongue, dog, or I'll have you muzzled." The argument escalated, voices rising, but Joffrey grew bored. "Come see me when you're older, Stark," he said, turning to leave with a dismissive wave. Dominic, invisible among the crowd, flicked his elder wand with a mischievous grin. A loud, unmistakable farting noise erupted from Joffrey, silencing the courtyard. The prince froze, his face turning scarlet as he glanced around, mortified. "Hound, follow me," he barked, storming toward the exit, only for another fart to sound, louder than the first. Robb and Theon burst into laughter, clutching their sides. Stark soldiers, struggling to maintain composure, gave in, their guffaws echoing off the stone walls. Joffrey fled the courtyard, his face a mask of humiliated rage, the Hound trailing silently. Dominic, Daenerys, and Missandei, cloaked by a silencing charm, laughed uproariously, their voices inaudible to others. Daenerys gasped, tears streaming down her face as she clutched her sides. "You're terrible." "Had to humble the little brat," Dominic said, winking. "No one sneers like that and gets away with it." Missandei wiped her eyes, still giggling. "You're going to get us in trouble one day." "Only if they catch us," Dominic replied, his grin widening. "Come on, let's see more of Winterfell." They moved deeper into the castle, their disillusionment charm keeping them hidden. The air grew heavier as they passed servants whispering about Bran's fall, their faces etched with worry. Daenerys's expression softened, her brown eyes, altered by the ring, glistening with empathy. "That poor boy," she murmured. "Can you do something?" Dominic's jaw tightened. "I can, but not now." He trailed off, his seismic sense subtly scanning the castle, detecting the faint vibrations of a boy's heartbeat in a distant room. "He's alive, at least." Missandei squeezed Daenerys's hand. "Let's not dwell on it. We're here to see the north, not its sorrows." They slipped into the Godswood, its ancient heart tree looming, its red leaves stark against the snow. Daenerys paused, awed by the carved face, its sap like blood. "This is where the Starks pray," she said softly. "It's sacred." Dominic nodded, his earthbending instincts resonating with the deep roots beneath. "Old magic lives here. Not like mine, but strong." They lingered, the silence soothing, before moving to the great hall. Servants bustled, preparing for a feast, their chatter filled with tales of the king's arrival and Bran's accident. Dominic's eyes flicked to a corner where Arya Stark, a small girl with a fierce scowl, practiced with a wooden stick, mimicking her brother's sparring. "She's got spirit," he thought, amused. As they explored, Daenerys tugged Dominic's sleeve. Dom, why are we really here? Just to see Winterfell. He glanced at her, his expression softening. To show you the world you might have ruled. And to gauge the seven kingdoms. Things are shifting, Bran's fall, Jon Arryn's death. Troubles brewing. Missandei frowned. You think war's coming? Not yet, Dominic said, but the pieces are moving. Robert's court is fractured, and Viserys, he shook his head. Your brother's a wildcard, Dany. If he thinks he can hatch your dragon eggs, he'll come for them, or you. Daenerys paled, clutching the winter rose. He wouldn't, would he? He demanded Dragonite and Charizard, Dominic said gently. He'd see your dragons the same way. Missandei wrapped an arm around Daenerys. What is there to worry about? You can take him and his Khalsar all by yourself. Daenerys smiled weakly. Thank you, Missy. And you, Dom. I wish he could be different. Dominic squeezed her shoulder. We'll deal with him if he comes. For now, let's enjoy this. Want to see the crypts? Daenerys hesitated, then nodded. Yes. They descended into Winterfell's crypts, the air cool and heavy with history. Statues of Stark kings lined the walls, their stone eyes solemn. Dominic's seismic sense traced the tunnels, detecting no threats. Lyanna Stark's here, he murmured, pausing at her statue. Her death started Robert's rebellion. Daenerys touched the statue, her fingers lingering. Why did my brother kidnap her? It's a long story, I will tell you after we settle in Wintertown, Dominic said. They stood in silence, the weight of the past settling over them. Missandei broke the quiet. We should head back soon. Dominic nodded, guiding them out. As they exited the crypts, he cast a glance at Winterfell's towers, his mind racing. The game's begun. Uric must be ready. Back in the courtyard, they watched Sansa Stark embroider with other ladies, her auburn hair catching the light. She's so proper, Daenerys whispered. Nothing like Arya. Different strengths, Dominic said. Sansa's a dreamer. Arya's a fighter. Both will matter in what's coming. As they prepared to leave, Dominic flicked his wand, refreshing the disillusionment charm. Secrets and schemes in the north. Third-person POV. 298 AC, outskirts of Wintertown, evening. The chill of the northern dusk settled over the outskirts of Wintertown as Dominic Augustus waved his elder wand, conjuring a magical tent with a flourish. Then he places a notice me not charm on the tent. The tent's exterior was plain canvas, but inside, it was a marvel of comfort. A spacious hall with plush couches, a fully equipped kitchen, 3 furnished bedrooms with connected bathrooms, each adorned with warm furnishings and enchanted lights. Dominic, Daenerys, and Missandei, still cloaked in common folk garb, stepped inside, the warmth banishing the cold. They sank onto a couch in the hall, Daenerys's black hair, altered by the runic Ched ring, falling over her shoulders, her brown eyes bright with excitement. Missandei, her dusky skin glowing in the soft light, leaned against Dominic, who stretched his 6 feet 6 inches frame, his brown tunic creased from the day's adventure. That was incredible, Daenerys said, clutching a winter rose from the market. Winterfell's so different from anything I've known. But Joffrey. She burst into giggles, recalling the prince's humiliation. Dom, you're awful for that farting charm. Dominic grinned, his golden eyes twinkling. The little brat deserved it. Sneering like he owns the north. Not on my watch. Missandei laughed, nudging him. You're going to start a war with your pranks one day. I can't imagine Cersei's face after she hears it. Oh, Cersei, Daenerys said, her laughter fading. She looked so cold. Like she hated being there. And Robert, gods, he's nothing like the rebel King Viserys ranted about. Robert's a broken man, Dominic said, leaning back. He won a throne but lost his heart. Lyanna Stark's death haunts him. You saw him in the castle, Dany. That's not a king ruling, it's a man grieving. Missandei nodded. And the commotion in the courtyard. Joffrey challenging Robb, the Hound and Roderick arguing, it's a powder keg. The Starks and Lannisters are oil and flame. Robb held his own, Daenerys said, smiling. He's strong, like a wolf. But Joffrey's cruel. I felt it in his voice. Cruel and spoiled, Dominic agreed. He's a liability to the crown. Cersei's coddling makes it worse. The 7 kingdoms are fracturing, and Joffrey's the kind of spark that'll ignite it. Daenerys's eyes softened. And Bran, that poor boy. Dom, when are you going to treat him? At the hour of the wolf, Dominic said, his voice low. When the castle's asleep. I'll slip in, heal him, and be gone before dawn. Daenerys nodded, then hesitated, her fingers tracing the rose's petals. Dom, why did my brother Rhaegar kidnap Lyanna Stark? Viserys always said she seduced him, but. Dominic sighed, settling deeper into the couch. It's a long story, Danny. He began recounting the tale. Rhaegar Targaryen, the melancholic prince, believed in a prophecy of a promised savior. At the tourney of Harrenhal, he crowned Lyanna Stark the Queen of Love and Beauty, sparking rumors of affection. When they vanished together, Robert Baratheon, betrothed to Lyanna, and Brandon Stark, her brother, assumed abduction. Brandon's confrontation with the Mad King, Aerys II, led to his and his father's deaths, igniting war. Rhaegar and Lyanna, hiding in Dorne, had married in secret, their love genuine. Lyanna died giving birth to their son, Aemon Targaryen, whom Eddard Stark claimed as his bastard, Jon Snow, to protect him from Robert's wrath. Daenerys's eyes widened, her breath catching. Jon Snow is my nephew. A Targaryen. Dominic nodded. Aemon Targaryen, by rights. Ned hid him to protect him from Robert's wrath. Then Daenerys chuckled softly, shaking her head. Viserys always screamed he was the last dragon. He'd lose his mind knowing Rhaegar's son is alive. Her laughter faded, a thoughtful look crossing her face. And, are we really the only Targaryens left? Dominic dropped a bombshell, his voice calm. No, Danny. There's one more. Aemon Targaryen, your great-grand-uncle, son of King Maekar. He's over 100, a maester at the wall. Daenerys gasped, leaning forward. I want to see him. Dominic nodded. We'll fly from here. I can't apparate to places I haven't been. Missandei tilted her head. What about Jon, Dom? He's your nephew, Danny. Will you meet him? He might join the Night's Watch. Daenerys's eyes blazed. He's the rightful king of the Seven Kingdoms. He shouldn't rot at the wall. I'll help him take the Iron Throne. Dominic chuckled, amused by her fire. You can do what you want, Danny. I'll help you. But first, we need to stop him from taking the Black. I'll arrange for him to come to Uric with us. Daenerys nodded, determination hardening her features. Dominic said, the kingdom's heading for war. A Game of Thrones is starting. We can use the chaos to seat Jon on the throne. Smart, Missandei said, smiling. Dany herself can fight against the whole army without breaking a sweat, but if she does that, all that will be left as ashes. Dominic nods and says, the North will follow Jon if his parentage is proven. The Riverlands, tied to the Starks, would join. Dorne is itching for revenge against the Lannisters for Elia Myrtell's murder. Some Crownlands houses resent Baratheon rule. The Reach will side with the highest bidder. The Vale's a problem, Lisa Arryn's under Petyr Baelish's thumb, and he's a delusional schemer who wants chaos to crown himself king. Westerlands and Stormlands will back the Baratheons and Lannisters. Then after talking about the future plans for a while and then they shifted topics, reminiscing about the market. Those winter roses were divine, Daenerys said. And the Uric goods. Your seeds and blueprints, Dom, they're changing Westeros. High-quality Gacha pulls, Dominic said, grinning. The seeds grow crops twice as fast, and the blueprints let us craft tools and fabrics that outshine anything here. Missandei laughed. The spider silk dresses were a hit. I saw ladies eyeing them like treasure. Speaking of treasure, Daenerys teased, nudging Dominic, you're our treasure, Dom. But gods, that apparition was awful. Never again, Missandei declared, shuddering. Dragonite's smoother. You'll learn to love it, Dominic said, winking. Or I'll carry you both next time. Daenerys blushed, swatting his arm. You're impossible. Yet you love me, he shot back, pulling her close. She giggled, leaning into him, while Missandei snuggled against his other side. They talked late, the fire in the hall crackling, their bond a warm shield against the world's brewing storms. Evening, dinner. Dominic stood in the kitchen, his wand levitating a pot of stew simmering with Uric spices. Hope you're hungry, he called, setting the table with a flick of his wrist. Daenerys inhaled deeply, her brown eyes sparkling. It smells like heaven. Missandei smirked. Dom's cooking is better than his pranks. High praise, Dominic said, serving them steaming bowls and butterbeer. They ate, savoring the rich flavors, their laughter filling the tent. Night, bedroom. Lemon warning. After dinner, Dominic led Daenerys and Missandei to the master bedroom, its wide bed draped in spider silk sheets. The air thrummed with anticipation as he pulled Daenerys close, kissing her deeply, his tongue exploring her mouth. She moaned, her hands tugging at his tunic, her altered brown eyes dark with desire. Missandei pressed against his back, her lips grazing his neck. Don't leave me out, she whispered, her black widow grace evident as she slid his tunic off, revealing his chiseled frame. Dominic chuckled, turning to kiss Missandei, his hands roaming her curves. Never, Missy. He lifted her dress, magic tearing it away, leaving her bare. Daenerys, emboldened, shed her own dress, her Mara enhanced warmth radiating. He guided them to the bed, laying Daenerys down, his lips trailing down her neck to her breasts, sucking a nipple as she gasped. Dom! She cried, her fingers in his raven hair. Missandei straddled Daenerys's hips, kissing her passionately, their tongues entwining. Dominic's fingers slipped between Daenerys's thighs, teasing her folds, her wetness coating him. So eager, my dragon queen, he murmured, circling her clit. Yes. Daenerys moaned, bucking against his hand. Missandei moved lower, her tongue flicking Daenerys's other nipple, their shared pleasure building. Dominic shed his pants, his arousal evident, and positioned himself between Daenerys's legs. Ready? He asked, his voice husky. She nodded, pulling him closer. He entered her slowly, her warmth enveloping him, her moans filling the room. Missandei kissed Daenerys, muffling her cries, then moved to Dominic, her hands guiding him deeper. Gods, Dom, Missandei gasped as he pulled her close, his fingers finding her core, teasing her as he thrust into Daenerys. The bed creaked, their rhythm syncing, a dance of fire and magic. Daenerys's nails raked Dominic's back, her climax nearing. Dom! She screamed, her body trembling as he drove deeper, her walls clamping around him. Missandei, lost in her own pleasure, straddled Daenerys's face, moaning as Daenerys's tongue explored her. Dany! She cried, her climax hitting as Dominic's fingers worked her. Dominic grunted, his release flooding Daenerys, triggering another wave of her pleasure. He pulled Missandei down, entering her swiftly, her cries echoing as he moved, his magic heightening their sensations. You are mine, he growled, his thrusts relentless. I'm yours. Missandei screamed, her body shaking as she peaked, collapsing beside Daenerys. Exhausted, they tangled together, sweat slicked and sated. Daenerys and Missandei passed out, curled into Dominic, their breaths soft. Lemon end. Dominic slipped from the bed, dressing quietly, and sat in a chair, waiting for the hour of the wolf. To pass the time, he activated his Gacha system, his 201 GP allowing 67 rolls at 3 GP each. He discarded minor items, candles, spices, a rusty dagger, but kept the significant pulls, a Pokemon egg, Super Soldier Serum X2, a weakness removal card, Talia al Ghul's character card, Shank's character card, and the Resurrection Stone. Not bad, he thought, pocketing the items. Hour of the Wolf, Winterfell. At the Hour of the Wolf, Dominic cast a disillusionment charm on himself and apparated to Winterfell's courtyard, his seismic sense guiding him. He slipped into Bran Stark's room, finding Catelyn Stark asleep in a chair, Summer, Bran's direwolf, at the bedside. The wolf's head snapped up, sensing him, but Dominic's wand flashed, a stupefy spell rendering Summer motionless. Another spell stilled Catelyn. Approaching Bran, Dominic used Grindelwald's magical knowledge, his wand glowing as he scanned the boy's body. A fractured spine. With precise magic, he mended the bones, knitting them seamlessly. The three-eyed raven will try to influence him, he thought, recalling Bran's destiny. He wove a mental barrier in Bran's mind, shielding him from external forces, then stepped back, satisfied. Leaving the room, Dominic roamed Winterfell, his mind scheming. Time to mess with the royals. A dark chuckle escaped him as he scanned the castle with observation hockey, pinpointing Arya Stark's room. Entering silently, he pulled Talia al Ghul's character card, applying it to the sleeping girl. She'll cause chaos with those skills, he thought, imagining Arya's ferocity enhanced by Talia's assassin training. Next, he crept to Joffrey's room. With a flick of his wand, he cast Rictum Sempra. Joffrey jolted awake, laughing uncontrollably, flailing in his bed. Dominic smirked, apparating back to the tent, leaving the prince to his humiliation. Dominic settled into the chair, the tent quiet save for his wife's soft breathing. The night's work was done, but the Game of Thrones loomed. With Jon Snow's claim, Daenerys's ambition, and Uric's might, the Seven Kingdoms would soon feel the Golden King's shadow. A game of whispers and wings. Third-person POV. 298 AC, Wintertown, morning. The magical tent on Wintertown's outskirts glowed softly in the dawn, its enchanted warmth a shield against the northern chill. Dominic Augustus woke first stirring beside Daenerys and Missandei, who slept tangled in spider silk sheets. He dressed in his common folk tunic, his eyes glinting with purpose. Daenerys, her hair black and eyes brown from the runic Ched ring, stirred next, followed by Missandei, whose dusky skin shone in the morning light. Morning, my loves, Dominic said, kissing each wife gently. Ready for another day. Daenerys yawned, stretching. After last night. Barely. Missandei smirked, slipping into a woolen dress. You're insatiable, Dom. But yes, I'm ready. They gathered in the tent's kitchen, where Dominic made a breakfast of warm bread, honey-drizzled porridge, and smoked fish, using his elder wand to streamline the task. The trio ate heartily, laughing over yesterday's antics, Joffrey's humiliation chief among them. His face. Daenerys giggled, mimicking the farting noise. I almost felt bad for him. Don't, Dominic said, grinning. He's a spoiled brat. A little embarrassment builds character. After breakfast, Dominic handed each wife a small pouch, its expansion charm making it bottomless. Explore Wintertown today. Buy what you like, see the sights. Meet me back here at midday. Daenerys raised an eyebrow. You're not coming. I've got business in Winterfell, he said, his tone cryptic. Stay safe. These pouches are charmed with extension, and there are 10,000 golden dragons in it. Missandei nodded, tucking the pouch into her cloak. We'll be fine. Dany and I can handle a market. Famous last words, Dominic teased, winking. He cast a disillusionment charm on himself, vanishing from sight, and apparated to Winterfell's courtyard with a faint pop. Winterfell. The courtyard bustled with morning activity, servants hauling firewood, guards drilling, and stableboys tending horses. Dominic, invisible, scanned for Jon Snow. He spotted the dark-haired youth near the armory, brooding as he sharpened a sword. There you are, Dominic thought, focusing his Grindelwaldhond legilimency. Slipping into Jon's mind, he planted subtle suggestions. Travel to Uric in Essos. Seek adventure for a year or two before joining the Night's Watch. The thoughts took root, natural and untraceable, nudging Jon's destiny toward Uric. Satisfied, Dominic roamed the courtyard, observing. In the Godswood, he found Arya Stark, her small frame a blur of motion as she practiced with a wooden sword, her ferocity amplified by the Talia al Ghul card he'd applied. Joffrey tries to cross her, he's in for a world of pain, Dominic thought, chuckling at the chaos she'd unleash. He watched her train for a while. Entering the Great Hall, he spotted Joffrey Baratheon, his eyes red and shadowed, dark circles betraying a sleepless night. Rictum Semper's a gift that keeps giving, Dominic thought, grinning. With a flick of his wand, he cast another Rictum Sempra. Joffrey erupted into uncontrollable laughter, collapsing to the floor, rolling as tears streamed down his face. Myrcella and Tommen, nearby, giggled softly, their innocent amusement a contrast to Cersei and Jaime Lannister's alarm. Joffrey, what's wrong? Cersei asks, concerned, kneeling beside him, her emerald eyes wide with worry. Joffrey gasped, trying to speak, but laughter choked his words. Fetch the maester. Cersei snapped at a servant, who scurried off. Tyrion Lannister, watching from a corner, couldn't resist. Seems the prince has found his true calling. Court jester, he quipped, earning a venomous glare from Cersei. Spare me your wit, Tyrion, she hissed. Tyrion offered a mock bow. My sympathies, dear sister, he said, sauntering out, his smirk hidden. Dominic, still invisible, slipped out of Winterfell, his mischief complete. That'll keep them busy, he thought, apparating back to the tent. Wintertown, midday. Dominic prepared a midday meal in the tent's kitchen, conjuring a spread of roasted quail, buttered turnips, and cinnamon rolls. The aroma filled the air as Daenerys and Missandei returned, their pouches bulging with market finds, winter roses, furland gloves, and a small carved direwolf figurine. Look at this, Daenerys said, holding up the figurine. It reminds me of the direwolf the Starks have. Missandei displayed a bear pelt. The merchants said they bought it from last hearth. It is, Dominic said, serving them plates. How was Wintertown? Lively, Daenerys said, biting into a roll. People are worried about Bran, but they're also gossiping about Joffrey's incident. Missandei laughed. You're a menace, Dom. Did you do anything else today? Just a little errand, he said, winking. Jon Snow's set to visit Uric before he considers the wall. We'll see him soon. Daenerys's eyes lit up. You did it. He'll come. Planted the idea, Dominic said. He'll think it's his own. Now, eat up. We're flying north next. After the meal, Dominic released Dragonite and Charizard from his Pokeball, their massive forms materializing outside the tent. He cast a disillusionment charm on all of them, cloaking the dragons and riders in invisibility. To the wall, he said, helping Daenerys and Missandei onto Dragonite while he mounted Charizard. They soared into the sky, the cold wind rushing past, their charmed cloaks keeping them warm. By nightfall, they landed in a secluded valley, setting up the magical tent to rest. The next day, they continued, the wall's distant shimmer growing closer. By afternoon, its colossal ice face loomed, a marvel of ancient magic. Dominic returned Dragonite and Charizard to their Pokeballs, their forms vanishing. Still under disillusionment charms, the trio trekked toward the wall, Castle Black's dark stone visible at its base. The air grew colder, the weight of the North's ancient duty pressing down. Journey to the wall. The flight to the wall was breathtaking, the North's rugged beauty unfolding below, snow-dusted forests, frozen rivers, and stark hills. At night, they rested in the tent, sharing stories of Uric's vibrancy and planning their approach to Castle Black. Daenerys, her Mara no Mi sparking faintly in excitement, practiced hockey under Dominic's guidance, her observation hockey sharpening. By the next afternoon, the wall towered above, its 700-foot ice face a testament to ancient magic. Dominic recalled Dragonite and Charizard, their Pokeballs secure in his inventory. Under disillusionment charms, they approached Castle Black, its crumbling towers a stark contrast to the wall's grandeur. The Night's Watch patrolled, their black cloaks flapping in the wind, unaware of the invisible trio slipping closer. Time to meet Aemon, Dominic thought, his mind already plotting their next move in the Game of Thrones. Third-person POV. 298 AC, Winterfell, morning. In the solar of Winterfell, Lord Eddard Stark sat behind his heavy oak desk, the weight of the North on his shoulders. The room was sparse, warmed by a crackling hearth, its stone walls adorned with a single Stark banner. Jon Snow stood before him, his dark hair cut recently, his gray eyes steady but tinged with a restless spark. The air was thick with the gravity of their conversation. Jon, Ned began, his voice low and measured, why this change of heart? Just yesterday, you were begging me to let you join the Night's Watch. Jon shifted, his hands clasped behind his back. I spoke with Uncle Benjen last night, father. He told me more about the wall, its hardships, what it truly means to take the Black. And, Tyrion Lannister said something that stuck with me. He said the wall's no place for dreams, only duty. I thought about it, long into the night. I'm not ready to give up the world yet. I want to see Essos, travel for a year or two, then join the Watch. Ned studied his nephew, the boy he'd raised as his son to shield him from Robert's wrath. Jon's words carried conviction, but Ned sensed something deeper, a nudge he couldn't place. He's young, Ned thought, but he's got Lyanna's stubbornness. Sighing, he reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a leather pouch, the faint clink of coins echoing. There are 50 gold dragons here, Ned said, sliding the pouch across. This will aid your travels in Essos. I'll send a letter to Lord Wyman Manderley in White Harbor, informing him of your purpose. He'll arrange a berth on a ship bound for Essos. Jon's eyes widened, gratitude softening his features. Thank you, father. Ned leaned back, his stern face softening. Where will you go first? Uric, Jon replied without hesitation. Ned nodded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Good choice. We've strong trade ties with Uric. Their seeds and goods, cheap, yet unmatched, have bolstered the North's stores. Don't cause trouble there, Jon. We need those relations intact. I won't, Jon promised. I'll note in the letter that you're headed to Uric, Ned added, already mentally drafting the missive. Be careful, Jon. Essos is not the North. Trust sparingly. Jon gripped the pouch, his resolve firm. I will. Thank you, father. With a nod, Jon turned and left the solar, the door closing softly behind him. Ned stared at the hearth, his thoughts heavy. He's leaving the North, but not the danger. The Game of Thrones was stirring, and Jon, unknowingly, was a piece on the board. Poll. What power should Jon Snow have? Dorne. Third-person POV. 298 AC, Sunspear, Dorne. The water gardens of Sunspear shimmered under the Dornish sun, their pink marble pools reflecting the vibrant bougainvillea that draped the arches. Aaron Sand strode through the lush pathways, his leather armor dusted from travel, sword strapped to his back. His supersoldier-enhanced frame moved with purpose, his dark eyes scanning the serene beauty around him. The scent of citrus and salt filled the air, a stark contrast to the arid sands beyond. At the heart of the gardens, Prince Doran Martell sat in his wheeled chair, his gout-afflicted legs covered by a light silk blanket. His face, lined with wisdom and pain, softened as Aaron approached. Aaron Sand, Doran said, his voice warm but measured. It has been some time since you graced Dorne. How do you fare? Aaron bowed slightly, a rare gesture for the brash warrior. Well, my prince. And you? How's your health? Doran's lips curved into a faint smile. The medicine your king provided works wonders. I can walk for short spells now, a gift I thought lost. Convey my thanks to Dominic Augustus. Will do, Aaron said, his grin easy. Before he could speak further, a sultry voice cut through the tranquility. Aaron Sand. What new tidings do you bring us? Princess Ariane Martell emerged from a shaded alcove, her olive skin glowing in a flowing gown of orange and gold. Her dark eyes sparkled with mischief, her full lips curling into a teasing smile as she approached. Aaron's grin widened. Princess Ariane, I'm finer than a Dornish vintage. You. Ever the charmer, Ariane said, tossing her raven hair. Tell me, what's Uric's golden king been up to? Aaron leaned against a marble pillar, his Afro-samurai grace evident. Dominic's wed Daenerys Targaryen, for one. They're touring Winterfell now, stirring up the north. And Viserys Targaryen. He's call of the biggest Khalasar in the Dothraki Sea. A mad one he is, but we don't know for how long. Doran's eyes narrowed, his mind already turning over the implications. A Targaryen call. Interesting. And Daenerys with Uric's king, the board shifts. Ariane raised an eyebrow. Winterfell. What's Dominic plotting in that frozen wasteland? Knowing him, trouble, Aaron said, chuckling. But I've a message from him for Prince Doran's eyes only. He produced a sealed scroll from his belt, handing it to the prince. Doran took it, his fingers deft despite his ailment. He broke the seal, his eyes scanning the parchment. Minutes passed in silence, the only sound the gentle splash of fountains. Finally, he folded the scroll, his expression unreadable. You must be weary, Aaron. Rest now. I'll summon your father to meet you within the week. Aaron nodded. Thank you, my prince. He turned to leave, but Ariane stepped forward. I'll show him to his quarters, she said, her tone light but her eyes locked on Aaron's. Doran's gaze flickered between them, but he said nothing, only nodding. Ariane led Aaron through Sunspear's winding halls, her hips swaying with deliberate grace. The palace's sandstone walls glowed in the afternoon light, tapestries of Martell victories fluttering in the breeze. Neither spoke, the air thick with unspoken tension. At a carved door, Ariane paused, ushering him into a spacious chamber with a canopied bed, silk curtains, and a balcony overlooking the sea. As the door clicked shut, Ariane turned, her eyes blazing. Aaron met her gaze, and in an instant, they crashed together, lips locking in a fierce, hungry kiss. Their hands moved frantically, tearing at clothes with practiced urgency. Ariane's gown fell in a pool of silk, revealing her curves, while Aaron's armor and tunic hit the floor, his supersoldier physique gleaming with sweat. Aaron scooped Ariane into his arms, her gasp turning to a laugh as he tossed her onto the bed, the silk sheets cool against her skin. He climbed over her, his dark eyes burning with desire, and their dance of passion began. Lemon warning. Ariane arched beneath Aaron, her nails digging into his shoulders as he kissed her deeply, his tongue claiming her mouth. She moaned, her body responding to his superhuman strength, her legs wrapping around his waist. You've kept me waiting too long, she purred, biting his lip. Patience isn't your virtue, Aaron growled, his hands roaming her curves, squeezing her hips. He kissed down her neck, sucking at her pulse, leaving a mark that made her gasp. Her fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer. Do me more, she demanded, her voice husky. Aaron obliged, his lips trailing to her breasts, his tongue flicking over a nipple. Ariane cried out, her back arching as he sucked, his teeth grazing just enough to spark pleasure. His hand slid to her other breast, kneading, pinching, driving her wild. She pushed him back, flipping him onto the bed with surprising strength. My turn, she said, straddling his hips, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders. She ground against him, feeling his arousal, her smirk wicked. Leaning down, she kissed his chest, her tongue tracing the scars from his battles, each one a story of survival. Aaron groaned, his hands gripping her thighs. Your trouble, princess. She laughed, her lips moving lower, teasing his abs, then lower still. Her breath ghosted over him, making him tense, before she took him into her mouth, her tongue swirling. His head fell back, a guttural moan escaping. Gods, Ariane, he gasped, his fingers in her hair, guiding her rhythm. She hummed, the vibration sending shocks through him, her pace relentless. Just as he neared the edge, she pulled back, smirking at his frustrated growl. Not yet, she teased, climbing back up to kiss him. Aaron flipped her onto her back, pinning her wrists above her head. You're playing with fire, he warned, his voice low. Then burn me, she challenged, her eyes defiant. He released her wrists, his hands sliding between her thighs, finding her wet and ready. His fingers teased her folds, circling her clit, making her hips buck. Aaron, she cried, her voice breaking. He slipped a finger inside, curling it, then added another, his thumb pressing her sensitive nerves. Ariane's moans filled the room, her body trembling as he worked her, his supersoldier precision devastating. Her climax hit hard, her scream echoing, her walls clenching around his fingers. Before she could recover, Aaron positioned himself, entering her in one slow thrust. Ariane gasped, her nails raking his back, the stretch intense. "You're too much," she panted, but her legs tightened around him, urging him deeper. He moved, slow at first, savoring her heat, then faster, each thrust driving her higher. "You're mine," he growled, his hands gripping her hips, angling her for deeper penetration. Ariane's cries grew louder, her body shaking with each impact. "Yes," she screamed, her second climax building. Aaron's pace was relentless, his superhuman stamina pushing her limits. She clawed at him, her pleasure overwhelming, stars bursting behind her eyes as she shattered again, her walls milking him. Aaron slowed, kissing her softly, letting her catch her breath. "Still with me," he murmured, his lips brushing her ear. She nodded, dazed, her smile radiant. He rolled her, pulling her atop him, her thighs straddling his hips. "Show me what you've got," he said, his hands on her waist. Ariane grinned, rocking her hips, setting a tortuous pace. Her breasts bounced, her hair a wild halo, and Aaron groaned, his hands roaming her body, cupping her breasts, pinching her nipples. She leaned down, kissing him fiercely, her movements quickening. "You're perfect," she gasped, her climax nearing again. Aaron thrust upward, matching her rhythm, his own release building. Their moans mingled, the room a symphony of passion. Ariane's third climax hit, her scream raw, her body convulsing. Aaron followed, his release flooding her, his growl primal. She collapsed onto his chest, both panting, sweat slicked, and sated. He held her close, kissing her forehead, their heartbeats syncing. "Gods, Aaron," she murmured, her voice hoarse. "You'll ruin me for anyone else." "Good," he said, smirking. "That's the plan." They lay tangled, the sea breeze cooling their skin through the open balcony. Ariane traced his scars, her touch gentle. "Stay in Dorne," she whispered, half serious. "You know I can't," he said, his tone soft. "Uric calls." She sighed, nestling closer. "Then come back soon." Lemon End. Doran sat alone in the water gardens, the scroll from Dominic in his lap. Its contents were cryptic yet bold, a proposal of alliance, hints of Targaryen restoration, and a warning of Westeros's brewing chaos. Uric's king plays a dangerous game, Doran thought, his mind turning to Elia Myrtell's murder, the Lannisters' betrayal. Dorne waits, but not for long. Ariane and Aaron, now dressed, shared a quiet moment on the balcony, the sea stretching endless before them. "What did Dominic's message say?" she asked, her voice low. Aaron shrugged, his grin easy. "Above my pay grade, princess. But knowing Dom, it's big." She smirked, leaning against him. "Then we'll make our own trouble." As the sun dipped, Dorne's plots deepened, Uric's influence spreading like wildfire, and the Game of Thrones grew ever more perilous. Blood of the Dragon at the Wall. Third-person POV. 298 AC, Castle Black, afternoon. The wall loomed above Castle Black, its 700-foot ice face glinting in the pale northern sun, a silent sentinel of ancient magic. Dominic Augustus, Daenerys Targaryen, and Missandei slipped through the castle's gates under disillusionment charms, their forms invisible to the black-cloaked brothers patrolling the crumbling fortress. The air was sharp with cold, carrying the scent of pine and frost, and the clatter of training swords echoed from the courtyard. Dominic, his 6 feet 6 inches frame cloaked in a commoner's tunic, led the way, his golden eyes scanning with hockey-enhanced precision. Daenerys, her hair black and eyes brown from the runic Ched ring, followed closely, her heart pounding at the thought of meeting her great-grand-uncle. Missandei, her Emma Frost senses alert, kept pace, her presence a quiet comfort. They navigated the narrow, icy corridors of Castle Black, avoiding stewards hauling firewood and recruits trudging to the mess hall. Reaching the Maester's Solar, a heavy oak door marked by years of wear, Dominic used his observation hockey to confirm only one heartbeat inside. He pushed the door open, revealing Maester Aemon, frail and blind, seated at a cluttered desk, his hands tracing a worn scroll. Dominic waved his elder wand, casting a Notice Me Not charm to ensure no one would disturb them and a silencing charm to trap sound within the room. With another flick, he dispelled their disillusionment charms, their forms shimmering into view. The soft creak of their footsteps drew Aemon's attention, his milky eyes turning toward the sound. "Who's there?" Aemon's voice was thin but steady, laced with the wisdom of a century. Daenerys stepped forward, her voice soft but clear. It's Daenerys Targaryen, great-grand uncle. Aemon froze, his hands trembling on the scroll. Daenerys Targaryen. His voice cracked, disbelief mingling with hope. Come closer, child. She approached, kneeling beside his chair. Aemon's gnarled fingers reached out, tracing her face with delicate care, feeling the contours of her cheeks and brow. Tears welled in his blind eyes, spilling down his weathered cheeks. Blood of my blood, he whispered, a smile breaking through. I never thought to see a Targaryen before I die. Daenerys clasped his hands, her own eyes glistening. I'm here, uncle. I found you. Aemon's tears flowed freely, his joy palpable. How are you here, child, without the watch noticing? Castle Black is no place for secrets to slip through. Daenerys glanced at Dominic and Missandei, who stood watchfully nearby. My husband, Dominic Augustus, king of Uric, brought me with magic. This is Missandei, my closest companion. We came unseen, by his power. Aemon's head tilted, curiosity sharpening his tone. Magic. True magic, like the tales of old. He chuckled softly. The world turned strange again. Tell me, Daenerys, how do you fare? And your brother, Viserys? Daenerys's smile faltered. I'm well, thriving in Uric with Dominic and Missandei. Viserys, she hesitated, then recounted his descent, his arrogance, his new role as Khal of a vast Dothraki Khalasar, and his dangerous obsession with reclaiming the Iron Throne. He's not the brother I hoped for, but I'm safe from him now. Aemon nodded, his expression somber. Viserys carries the fire of Aerys, I fear. And you, child, what do you plan for the future? Daenerys's voice grew firm, her brown eyes blazing with resolve. I've learned of Rhaegar's son, whose mother is Lyanna Stark, Aemon Targaryen, your namesake, now known as Jon Snow. He's alive, raised in Winterfell as a bastard of Eddard Stark. I mean to help him claim the Iron Throne, to restore our house. Aemon's blind eyes seemed to pierce her soul, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Aemon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar. I wish you luck, Daenerys, but the throne is a cursed seat. Be wary. I will, she promised, then softened. Come with us, uncle. When we take King's Landing, you could be Grand Maester. You don't have to stay here. Aemon shook his head, his voice gentle but unyielding. I swore my life to the wall, child. I'll die here, as I've lived, serving, not ruling. Don't fret for me. My time is near, but yours is just beginning. Daenerys swallowed her protest, respecting his resolve. Aemon's hand patted hers, then he turned slightly toward Dominic. Young king, would you do an old man a favor? Near the fourth shelf, there's a plank on the floor. Beneath it lies a secret compartment. Fetch what's inside. Dominic nodded, crossing the room with silent grace. He went towards the fourth shelf, where he pried up a loose plank, revealing a hidden nook. Inside rested a long, narrow box, its wood dark and polished. He lifted it carefully, then placed it on Aemon's desk. Aemon's fingers brushed the box, a tremor in his touch. Open it, Daenerys. She unlatched it, her breath catching as the lid swung back. Inside, nestled in velvet, lay Dark Sister, the ancestral Valyrian steel sword of House Targaryen, its slender blade gleaming with a deadly elegance. Gods, she whispered, lifting it reverently. How long have you had this? Brynden Rivers, Bloodraven, gave it to me before he vanished beyond the wall, Aemon said, his voice heavy with memory. He bid me keep it safe, for a Targaryen who would need it. Use it, Daenerys, to restore our house to its rightful place. Daenerys's eyes shone with determination as she hugged Aemon tightly. I will, Grand Uncle. A Targaryen will sit the Iron Throne again. I swear it. Aemon returned the embrace, his frail frame trembling with emotion. Go with fire and blood, child, but temper it with mercy. For 2 hours, they spoke, of Targaryen history, Aemon's youth in King's Landing, and Daenerys's dreams for Uric and Westeros. Missandei shared tales of Noth, her gentle wisdom easing Aemon's heart, while Dominic stood sentinel, his haki ensuring no threats approached. Aemon's laughter, rare and precious, filled the solar as he recounted old jests with his brother Aegon, the egg of Duncan egg tales. As dusk fell, Dominic touched Daenerys's shoulder. We should go, Dany. The watch will stir soon. She nodded, reluctant, hugging Aemon once more. I'll come back, Grand Uncle. I promise. Aemon smiled, his blind eyes warm. I'll hold you to that, dragon. Dominic recast the disillusionment charms, cloaking them in invisibility, and dispelled the room's charms. They slipped out, leaving Aemon alone with his scrolls, a faint smile lingering on his face. The trio navigated Castle Black's corridors, exiting into the biting cold of the courtyard, the wall's shadow stretching long. Outside, Daenerys clutched Dark Sister, her voice soft. I wanted to talk more with him. He's family. Dominic wrapped an arm around her, his voice reassuring. Now that I've been here, I can apparate back anytime. We'll visit often, Dany. She nodded, a smile breaking through her melancholy. Thank you, Dom. We'll come back. Missandei squeezed her hand. He's proud of you, Dany. You gave him joy today. Dominic took their hands, magic surging. With a pop, they apparated to Uric, the wall's chill replaced by jasmine-scented warmth. Dark Sister gleamed, a vow forged in steel, as Uric's golden walls welcomed them home. The Beggar King's Wrath. Third-person POV. 298 AC, Dothraki Sea, evening. The endless expanse of the Dothraki Sea stretched under a bruised sky, its swaying grasses whispering secrets of conquest and blood. Viserys Targaryen stood at the edge of his camp, his silver hair glinting in the torchlight, violet eyes burning with a manic fury. His Khalasar sprawled behind him, 40,000 Dothraki warriors, their tents dotting the plain like stars, horses snorting in the cool night air. Yet, as he surveyed his army, disgust twisted his features. I should have the power of dragons. I am the last dragon, the rightful king. The thought seared his mind, as it did every time he pictured his sister Daenerys and that man, Dominic Augustus, the so-called Golden King of Uric. He stole her, my birthright, my dragons. Viserys's fists clenched, his nails biting into his palms. He still believed Dragonite and Charizard, the massive beasts he'd seen in Pentos, were true dragons, not Pokemon. If I kill him, I'll take his city, his dragons, and make my whore of a sister give me an heir. His plan, born of envy and madness, felt flawless in his fevered mind. Uric's wealth, its women, its grandeur, he'd claim it all. Ser Jorah Mormont approached, his worn armor clinking softly, his grizzled face etched with caution. Your Grace, he said, kneeling, I've received word from King's Landing. Viserys's head snapped toward him, his sneer barely concealing his impatience. Well, what is it? He demanded, noticing two Dothraki warriors nearby glaring at him and Jorah, their braids heavy with bells, their araks gleaming at their hips. Jorah kept his head bowed. Jon Arryn is dead, and Robert Baratheon is in Winterfell, asking Eddard Stark to become Hand of the King. Viserys's lips curled into a mocking smile. So, the usurper wants his northern dog to replace the old one. He paced, his silk cloak billowing. We need to ride to Uric. With this horde, Dominic's throne will be mine. Viserys said. Jorah hesitated, his voice steady but wary. Your Grace, the Dothraki will not attack that city. They call it the City of Death. They fear one man. A clay cup in Viserys's hand shattered against the ground, wine staining the earth like blood. They fear one man. He growled, his voice rising to a shriek. I am the last dragon. I will have that city. I will own those dragons. The camp stirred, Dothraki glancing over, their expressions unreadable but tense. The women Viserys had taken as gifts cowered in his tent, their screams muffled as he began hurling objects, goblets, furs, a bronze brazier. I will have it all. He roared, his face flushed, spittle flying. Of course, Your Grace, Jorah said, his tone placating, though his eyes betrayed concern. In the 2 weeks since joining Viserys, he'd seen this madness flare repeatedly, first toward Daenerys, then the Dothraki for refusing him extra rations, and worst of all, toward the girls forced to serve him. He's becoming his father, Jorah thought grimly. The Mad King's shadow loomed large. The Dothraki obeyed Viserys only because Dominic had commanded it, a fact that gnawed at Jorah. But their patience was fraying. Whispers of dissent rippled through the camp, and Jorah feared the breaking point was near. How close are we to Uric? Viserys demanded, huffing from his tantrum, his chest heaving. Jorah rose, keeping his gaze low. At a normal pace, 2 months. If we push, perhaps 6 weeks, but it's hard to say. 6 weeks is too long. Viserys yelled, his voice cracking. There's nothing to be done, Your Grace, Jorah said carefully. Even at that pace, we'd risk killing the horses. The Dothraki would never agree. Viserys's eyes narrowed, his breathing ragged. Very well. We ride at dawn. He turned to the 2 women cowering behind his bedding, their faces bruised, welts visible on their arms. Leave us. At once, Your Grace, Jorah said, exiting swiftly. As he passed, he heard their whimpers, his stomach churning. Outside, a Dothraki blood rider, Aggo, leaned against a tent pole, his expression dark. That man will lead us to our deaths, Aggo muttered to his fellow riders, his bells jingling softly. Jorah said nothing, but his silence spoke volumes. Viserys's madness was a flame, and the Dothraki sea was dry tinder. Uric loomed on the horizon, a city of wonders, and, to the Dothraki, a city of doom. At dawn, Viserys's Khalasar broke camp, the thunder of hooves shaking the earth. Viserys rode at the head, his silk cloak flapping, his eyes fixed on the horizon. Uric will be mine, he thought, his madness a fire that refused to dim. Jorah rode beside him, his face grim, while Aggo and his blood riders trailed, their loyalty strained. The Dothraki whispered of the city of death, of a king who wielded dragons and magic. Viserys heard none of it, his mind consumed by visions of crowns and conquest. But the sea of grass was vast, and Uric's golden walls were a fortress of fate, waiting to crush the beggar king's dreams.